Chapter 977. After spending some time with Shi Xueyun, Yi Tianyun went to find Yi Qingxian. He thought of Yi Qingxian. She had helped him a lot and given him this talent. He was extremely grateful. In terms of importance, Shi Xueyun would definitely be first, and Yi Qingxian would be second. As for Xiaolian and the others, they were also very important to him. Now, they had a lot of power by his side. However, the one who had helped him the most was undoubtedly Yi Qingxian. The original holy maiden of the spirit race was here to help him deal with more matters. Compared to Shi Xueyun, she would only do more, not less. He quickly found Yi Qingxian. She was busy. After this battle, they had obtained many spoils of war, but many had been injured, so they had many things to do. God King Skycloud, you're here? When Yi Qingxian looked up and saw Yi Tianyun, she hurriedly stood up and wanted to respectfully kneel. There's no need to call me that. I'm still the youth who saved you a long time ago. I'm still the old Skycloud. There's no need to be so respectful. After all, we've always been friends, whether in the past, present, or future. Yi Tianyun looked at her and smiled. So there's no need to be so respectful. Just be casual. Just friends. Yi Qingxuan's eyes were full of resentment. She bit her lip and stared at him. Yi Tianyun coughed a few times. He knew what Yi Qingxian was thinking. Many of the women around him had feelings for him. No matter how stupid he was, he could see it. Not to mention anything else, just the fact that they liked him so much that it was hard to display it was enough to tell that the meaning between them was different. If he wanted them to die, they would do it without hesitation. What's the situation with the spirit race? For example, how many vital crystals do we have left? Yi Tianyun had come to ask about the spirit race's situation. Vital crystals. Yi Qingxian sighed deeply. We've been out for a long time. The spirit race is in a difficult situation to reproduce. All these years, we've turned the entire 3 realms upside down, but we haven't been able to find a substitute for the vital crystal. It looks like the heavens really want to destroy us. They were in despair. The situation had obviously taken a turn for the better. They didn't need to hide anymore, and they were in high positions. Who would have thought that they would fall into this vortex? If this continued, the spirit race would go extinct. Don't worry, I'll take you somewhere. Yi Tianyun reached out and grabbed her shoulder, saying, don't be nervous, relax a little, and don't resist. Yi Qingxian nodded, indicating that she understood. Shortly after, he let Yi Qingxian enter the planet in his body. As soon as she entered the planet, she immediately felt a rich life force surging towards her from all directions. She was extremely shocked. What a rich life force. What is this place? Yi Qingxian was amazed. This is the world within my body. Do you think it's suitable for the astrals to live in? Yi Tianyun asked. It's very suitable. I can feel the life force in my body flourishing. If the astrals lived here, they would definitely prosper. Yi Qingxian was pleasantly surprised. This was like coal in a snowstorm for them. Shortly after, she thought about it and asked doubtfully, isn't this the world within your body? Have we always been living in the world within your body? Of course not, I'm always outside, and I'm always in danger. If I put you in here, I'll be harming you. Yi Tianyun said with a smile. Of course not, I'm always outside, and I'm always in danger. I just want you to feel the situation inside. If it's suitable, the next time I come back, I'll bring you a crystal that's even more powerful than the vital crystal. Of course, Yi Tianyun wouldn't let them stay in his body. He had thought about this a long time ago. His target was the core of the sacred temple of life. It'd be even better if there's one. Yi Qingxian was extremely excited. This was what they were worried about. If there really was one, then it would solve their urgent problem. They could still hold on for now, but if it dragged on for too long, it would be very serious. Don't worry, I won't let you wait for too long. Yi Tianyun looked at her and sighed. As the spirit king of the astrals, I've always said that I would help you solve this problem, but I haven't been able to solve it completely. This is my dereliction of duty. Our king, don't say that. If it weren't for you, our astrals would have long been destroyed. Yi Qingxuan's beautiful eyes were filled with gratitude. Now that you can help us find a solution, We have always believed that you can lead us to glory. Yi Tianyun smiled. They had helped him a lot, so this was a small matter. The divine runes of the entire heavenly cloud divine kingdom were supported by them. They carved the divine runes inside and out, so the effort they spent would only be more than others. By the way, our king, do you have time now? In a few days, we plan to go to the original ancestral land to pay our respects. As our spirit king, I wonder if you can accompany us? Yi Qingxian thought for a moment and added, in fact, you don't need to pay your respects, you just need to lead us back. She was worried that Yi Tianyun would not be willing to pay his respects. After all, the ancestral land had nothing to do with Yi Tianyun at all. This is no problem. Yi Tianyun readily agreed. Anyway, he had more time now, so it was not a problem for him to pay his respects. But after thinking for a moment, he asked doubtfully, Ancestral land, didn't you live in the forest before? That's right, but our real ancestral land is actually not there. Rumor has it that our ancestors live there. Yi Qingxian explained. All right, I'll wait for your notice. Yi Tianyun did not ask any more questions, he would know when he got there. Yi Qingxian nodded and immediately went to inform the astrals. It did not take too long to prepare, and after 2 days, they would immediately set off. It could be said that the entire spirit race was going to the ancestral land, no one was left out. This was the first time that Yi Tianyun had seen such a scene. He always thought that the forest was the ancestral land, but now it seemed that it was not the case. Under the guidance of Yi Qingxian and the spirit race's old ancestor, they soon arrived at the ancestral land of the spirit race, Brahma Sacred Ground. This was what they called the place, Brahma Sacred Ground. When Yi Tianyun came to this area, the place was a little strange. There was only a pillar standing there, surrounded by grass, and nothing else. Chapter 978. The stone pillar in front of him was not obvious at all. If it pierced through the clouds, it would be more obvious. But this stone pillar was only 10 meters tall. It was not very tall, so he had not noticed it before. Even if he had investigated this area, he would not have known that this was the ancestral land of the spirit race. In reality, he had investigated this place before, but he had only scanned it briefly and had not observed it carefully. Who would be so bored as to investigate this stone pillar? More importantly, he could feel the power of the 3 realms divine seal coming from it. This was what shocked him the most. Before, his cultivation was too low, so he could not sense it. But now, his cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. Naturally, he could sense many things now. Especially since he had just returned from the 3 realms divine seal, he could sense it even more clearly. If he had not been there before, he would at most feel that the stone pillar had a special energy, but he did not feel that it was familiar. This is the ancestral land. Yi Tianyun looked around. There were no buildings around, just this stone pillar. He had thought that there would be some kind of village, or at least some dilapidated houses. Who knew that there would be nothing, just a pile of weeds and this stone pillar? Yes, this is our ancestral land. Yi Qingxian looked at the stone pillar, her eyes full of respect. Rumor has it that after our ancestors passed away, they were buried here. Who knew that the moment they were buried, this stone pillar would quickly grow out and grow taller and taller? That's right, this stone pillar is 1/2 meter taller than in previous years. It's growing much faster than before. The spirit race patriarch beside her was also full of respect. This was their ancestral land. More accurately, it was where their ancestors were buried. They basically came here every year to pay their respects, and this year was no exception. A stone pillar that can still grow. Yi Tianyun looked at the stone pillar and used the appraisal eye to look for some clues. But the appraisal eye could not see anything. It seemed that its level was not high enough, so it could not see anything more. Immediately, the spirit race people began to pay their respects. The ceremony was relatively simple. They just carried out offerings and performed rituals outside. They set up bonfires and prepared to pay their respects here for 3 days and 3 nights. It was quite lively. Yi Tianyun didn't ask them to do anything special. He just stepped forward and said something on their behalf. The ancestor of the spirit tribe even said that Yi Tianyun was not a member of the spirit tribe, but he could become their spirit king and lead them to glory. Everything was very strict, and all kinds of rituals were very standard. They did not dare to offend in the slightest. Yi Tianyun looked at the stone pillar and didn't dare to touch it. If he offended this ancestor, wouldn't he be scolded? Yi Qingxian noticed his expression and whispered, "Tianyun, why do you keep staring at the ancestral grave?" I discovered that this stone pillar is a little strange, so I want to examine it." Yi Tianyun didn't hide anything. Even if he couldn't do it now, he would come back to investigate after they left. "It grew from the spiritual body of my ancestor, so of course it's strange. But you can touch it and examine it. There's no problem with that. Later, we will all take turns to touch it and ask the ancestor to bless us," Yi Qingxian said in a low voice. Yi Tianyun nodded. It seemed like it wouldn't be so awkward this way. After they finished paying their respects, the ancestor of the spirit tribe signaled to Yi Tianyun and said, "Our king, please lead us to touch the spiritual energy of our ancestor." Yi Tianyun nodded and walked to the stone pillar. It wasn't very tall, but it was very thick. It was at least 3 or 4 meters thick and looked like a small mountain. He led everyone to the front of the stone pillar and covered it with astral power. When he transferred astral power into it, there was a buzzing sound and the entire stone pillar suddenly emitted a dazzling light. The people who wanted to touch the stone pillar with Yi Tianyun saw that when Yi Tianyun touched the stone pillar, they all knelt down and kowtowed. "It's a miracle. Is this the ancestor's spirit?" They knelt down and looked at the shining stone pillar in shock. They had never seen anything like this before. No matter how they touched it, they couldn't cause this. Yi Qingxian and the others were stunned. They didn't expect this to happen. At the same time, Yi Tianyun had already seeped into the stone pillar and extended from the top to the bottom. After a while, his figure flashed and disappeared completely in front of everyone. What's going on? Did the Spirit King disappear? Yi Qingxian and the others quickly got up and went to the side of the stone pillar. They found that Yi Tianyun had indeed disappeared. They didn't know where he had been teleported to. The ancestor of the spirit tribe looked around and said doubtfully, "He should have been teleported away." Can the ancestor's stone pillar teleport people away? They couldn't understand it. Something they had never seen before had happened in front of them. After Yi Tianyun disappeared, when he reappeared, he found himself in a strange space. The first thing he saw was a spacious hall with a huge chair in front of him. Apart from that, there was nothing else. Is this the space inside the stone pillar? Yi Tianyun was startled. He could clearly feel that the energy waves here were different. It seemed that this tomb wasn't real. The real situation was that there was a palace below, but he didn't know what it was used for. Then, he slowly walked to the seat and sat down. As soon as he sat down, a special energy immediately flowed into his body. His body trembled. He felt his soul consciousness start to spread out rapidly. He could feel that his consciousness was connected to this world. It started from the mortal realm and quickly extended to the heavenly realm and the netherworld. After a while, he had completely extended to every corner of the 3 realms. No matter which corner he was in, he could feel it. Even if it was an ant in the corner, he could feel the waves brought by the ant's movement or hear the ants breathing clearly. Right now, he was like the true controller of the 3 realms. He could control everything here and do whatever he wanted. But this wasn't the key point. The key point was that he felt that he could control the 3 realms. The control of the 3 realms here wasn't to make a cultivator explode or overturn mountains and seas, but to make the entire 3 realms turn into a spirit ship and move forward. This is the control room. Yi Tianyun was shocked. He didn't think that this was a control room. This meant that the 3 realms were like spirit ships that could move at will. Chapter 979. In the face of this situation, Yi Tianyun was both surprised and happy. He never thought that the problem he had been worrying about would be solved here. He didn't need any powerful strength. As long as he sat here, he could control the 3 realms and go wherever he wanted. Very good, let's leave here now. Yi Tianyun didn't think too much about it. He immediately controlled the 3 realms and flew out. He didn't want to stay here any longer. He didn't know when the evil spirit race would come, but there was absolutely no harm in leaving now. As he continuously poured star power into the 3 realms, a thick shield was quickly erected outside. He had a feeling that even if the Lord of Heaven came, he still wouldn't be able to break this shield. This was based on his ability. The stronger his cultivation was, the stronger the effect of the shield would be. This meant that he didn't need to personally go out and destroy the rocks. He could leave here. Great, this is a 3 realms spirit ship. Yi Tianyun was pleasantly surprised. If this was a spirit ship, then its scale was too big. It could even run through the sky. It had to be said that this was quite amazing. He didn't know why this person would do this. The ancestral land of the spirit race, a 9th grade divine carving master, could it be? When Yi Tianyun thought of this, his heart shook. It was very likely that the spirit race was the descendant of that 9th grade divine carving master. Thinking about their amazing talent, even if they faced a powerhouse from the divine realm, the talent given by Yi Qingxian would still be useful. Thinking about it, it was scary. He didn't expect that it would be connected. Did the two seem to be related? He was only speculating a little. He wasn't very clear about the situation. In any case, it was a pleasant surprise to be able to control the 3 realms. Immediately after, he rushed out of the rubble. When the huge shield pressed down, the rubble was directly crushed into pieces. Then, he quickly controlled the 3 realms and flew to a remote place. Many cultivators in the 3 realms still didn't know that the 3 realms was moving rapidly. They didn't feel it at all. After all, the 3 realms' flying speed was quite stable. There was also a thick shield outside. Unless an extremely terrifying rock smashed over or another planet smashed over, the 3 realms would be fine. Looks like half of the problem has been solved for now. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. The other half was to destroy the evil spirit race's ancestral land. This was something that was inevitable. Now that the 3 realms had been temporarily moved away, it meant that the 3 realms were temporarily safe. This place was locked onto by the evil spirit race, so no matter how many illusions were set up outside, it would still be broken through. Unless they set up an unbreakable defensive formation or had an expert guarding it, the evil spirit race would definitely continue to invade. At the same time, in the evil spirit race's ancestral land, after knowing that the 3 Lord of Heaven had died, the evil spirit race immediately exploded. What? The 3 Sakyamuni brothers are all dead. When this news spread out, many people couldn't believe it. They had already sent out 3 Lord of Heaven, but a mere Fan Yu faction could actually resist them. When the news spread, many of the upper echelons immediately flew into a rage. Even the highest existence in the evil spirit race did not look too good at this matter. Our king, the 3 Lord of Heaven that we sent out are all dead. When they said this, they were still in a state of confusion. They really could not believe this kind of thing. The fact that 3 heaven monarchs couldn't even eliminate a mortal zone force was a disgrace to them. Especially since this was not the first time they had failed, but several times, it was truly humiliating. A force from the divine realm and a force from Fan Yu, the difference between the two was like heaven and earth, like the difference between clouds and mud, yet they were defeated. It was unbelievable to say it out loud, but the truth was there. What exactly is going on? Could it be that some force has already ruled over that place? An expert on the side stood up and guessed. Everyone nodded their heads. If that wasn't the case, they really couldn't think of how Fan Yu could have such power. There was only one possibility, and that was that there was a powerful divine realm occupying it. Didn't we guess this before? However, we've already sent 3 Lord of Heaven. If we really found out what kind of power it is, we should have returned if we couldn't fight against it. It's possible that the other party will directly suppress us, giving us no chance to escape. They all knew their own situation, and many cultivators hated them. Therefore, it was not surprising that they would reject them. Enough. The evil spirit race king who was sitting on top was expressionless. It was impossible to tell if he was happy, angry, sad, or happy. This was the most terrifying thing. The experts at the side all retreated to the side, not daring to make a sound. They silently stayed there, not daring to say anything. Send out the evil flame divine monarch and 2 Lord of Heaven. Bring the heaven evasion talisman with you. If you can't beat them, quickly escape and report to me, the evil spirit king said coldly. Yes, sir. The evil spirit race looked at each other. This was the only thing they could do. Otherwise, no matter how many Lord of Heaven they sent out, they would just be cannon fodder. It was obvious that their king was completely enraged. He had overestimated them and sent out 3 Lord of Heaven, intending to suppress them in one fell swoop. Who knew that it would be useless? Instead, the 3 Lord of Heaven had died, making the evil spirit king furious. Now, they had directly sent out divine monarchs. Such a big move would make people dumbfounded. To send out divine monarchs to suppress a fan new power, were they stupid, or were they out of their minds? Sending out an Earth Lord could easily suppress them. There was no need for divine monarchs. But that was the reality. Only divine monarchs could suppress them. Just thinking about it was terrifying. Go as fast as possible. I want to know the news as soon as possible, the evil spirit king said coldly. Yes, sir. They immediately started preparing. Evil Flame Divine Monarch and the others did not bring any subordinates, just a few experts. They sat on the high-grade reincarnation-grade spirit ship and flew towards the 3 realms. Under Evil Flame Divine Monarch's control, the speed was terrifying. It far exceeded the speed of the Lord of Heaven. It was definitely dozens of times faster. In a month, we will definitely reach the fan new power, Evil Flame Divine Monarch said coldly to his subordinates. They were very unhappy. They were supposed to go on an expedition to the divine realm, but now they were ordered to go to the fan new power. How could they be happy? Especially since the other party had killed so many of their people. Evil Flame Divine Monarch could not take this lying down. Under Evil Flame Divine Monarch's control, a month passed in the blink of an eye. After flying crazily for a month, a spirit ship broke through the space and pierced through the rubble, heading forward. We have reached the destination. Prepare to fight. Evil Flame Divine Monarch crudely controlled the spirit ship to pierce through. When they took out their strongest weapons and prepared to fight, they were dumbfounded by the scene in front of them. There was nothing. Chapter 980. Sir God Evil Flame and the rest were dumbfounded. They had come all the way from the evil spirit race's ancestral land, but they had seen nothing but a pile of rubble. It's gone. The planet has been moved. Sir God Evil Flame's face was ugly. They had never expected the planet to disappear. They had seen planets explode, but they had never seen a planet disappear. Could the planet have been taken away by some mighty figure? The Heavenly Lord at the side looked at Sir God Evil Flame and said cautiously. Sir God Evil Flame looked unhappy, so he didn't dare to speak too loudly. That's the only possibility. ****. I didn't expect that we would come here for nothing. To think that we prepared so much. Exasperated, Sir God Wicked Flame swept out in all directions, turning the surrounding rocks into powder. Even the remote uninhabited planets were turned into powder. The terrifying power made the Lord of Heaven afraid to approach. They were worried that they would be affected by the terrifying power. After venting for a while, Sir God Evil Flame finally calmed down a little. He looked around coldly and said, I don't know where it went. Let's split up and search. But, no buts. I didn't ask you to fight. You just have to report the information to me. Sir God Evil Flame stared at them coldly. This was a mission issued by the Evil Spirit King. He had wanted to complete it well. Now that the planet had disappeared, how could he complete the mission? They had to search around to see if they could find it. It was not Sir God Evil Flame's style to give up just like that. The Lord of Heaven gulped. They were naturally worried about the expert who had taken the planet away. The expert who could take the planet away was at least a Sir God. Of course, only a very powerful Sir God could do it. At least Sir God Evil Flame couldn't do it. Yes. They could only bite the bullet and search. They were worried that they would meet an expert and die without a trace. Just like the people they had sent before, there was no news at all. They were all dead. None of them had escaped. ***. I don't believe that there are no clues at all. At the very least, let me know which faction it is. Sir God Evil Flame began searching around. At the same time, the heavenly mandate divine realm was also in chaos. Time was obviously tight, but Yi Tianyun suddenly disappeared, and no one knew where he went. Where did that brat go? Nyan Ciu gritted her teeth and kicked away the rocks in front of her. She said fiercely, What time is it now? It's not long before we set off. If we're any slower, we won't be able to make it in time. The entire heavenly mandate divine realm was searching for Yi Tianyun. Such a powerful disciple would be an excellent combat force in the battle of heavenly ascension, and it was very likely that he would make it into the top 10. How could they let him go? Now that such a thing had happened, all the elders of the heavenly mandate divine realm were in a panic. Although they could participate in the next battle of the heavenly mandate divine realm, it was not a problem for them to participate this time. It wouldn't be a problem for him to participate one more time in the future. Perhaps he could make it into the top 10 this time and win glory for the heavenly mandate divine realm. But now that he had disappeared, how could they participate? After searching for a while, they found a problem. Was Yi Tianyun not in the heavenly mandate divine realm? If he was not in the heavenly mandate divine realm, how could they find him? Elder Nyan, there is no response from the token. It is probably too far away to send the message back. One of the guards came to Nyan Ciu and said, "Too far." Nyan Ciu frowned. Where did that brat go? But at least he did not send back the message of his death. The token here could send messages, but if the distance was too far away, then the message would not be able to be sent back. Only when the person died would the message be sent back. The meaning of the two was different. Normal messages could not be sent back due to the distance being too far away and the lack of energy. Once the person died, the token would explode and be sent out with the strongest force. Unless the distance was very far away or there was a shielding matrix, there would be no way to receive the message. Yes, the token here is not broken, which means that he is fine. The guard wiped his sweat. These days they can be described as running around, tired to death, all in order to find Yi Tianyun. Then we can only wait for him to come back. Nyan Ciu looked at the guard and said, "Tell the others to stop looking." Yes. Immediately, the guard felt as if he had been pardoned and quickly went to inform his companions, telling them not to continue looking. The heavenly mandate divine realm was too big, and it was difficult to find him. If they could, they really did not want to look around. After the guard left, Nyan Ciu rubbed her head and sighed. I hope he returns quickly before we set off. Why is he not cultivating in the holy temple of life? Why did he suddenly run out? Is there something urgent? She shook her head and could only wait for the news. While the two forces in the outside world were busy with the matter of Yi Tianyun, he was controlling the three realms to fly to a remote place. Fortunately, on Fan Yu's side, there was no one flying outside, so they would not notice that the planet was flying. The consumption is really great. If my cultivation had not broken through, I would not have been able to control it. Yi Tianyun wiped the sweat on his forehead. If he was at the Star-Lord level, he would not be able to move it. There was one more thing that was necessary, and that was the star power. Without the star power, it was also impossible to move the three realms. He was now controlling the three realms and flying forward quickly. The speed was neither fast nor slow, which was better than not moving. He tried to fly to a remote place to avoid being discovered by the evil spirit race. He believed that when the evil spirit race found that the three realms were not there, they would definitely search for it. Therefore, he did not dare to stop for a moment and continued to fly to a remote place. This alone would take him several months to fly. On the way, he would go out and explain these things before continuing to control it. Otherwise, Yi Qingxian and the others would definitely be waiting for him up there, which would be troublesome. Almost, it should be safe this time. Yi Tianyun controlled the three realms to fly to a relatively remote corner before stopping the three realms. There were other planets floating around, which could serve as a good cover. He still had to set up some concealment formations outside, otherwise, he would definitely be easily found. Immediately, he came out of the control room and quickly flew out to set up the formation. The energy he spent was even more shocking. However, for the safety of the three realms, this work was necessary. This time, I have enough time to cultivate. There is no need to worry about this for the time being. Chapter 981. After setting up restrictions outside the three realms, Yi Tianyun finally settled one of his worries. After returning, he lived a comfortable life with Shueyun and did not want to do anything else for the time being. He did not have much time to return, so he threw cultivation to the back of his mind. It was more important to spend time with his family first. After all, the evil spirit race would not find them for the time being, so there was more time. There was no need to be so anxious. He calculated that there was still half a year before the Divine Domain Ascension battle, so he could still stay here for a short period of time. When the time came, he would rush back to cultivate properly. There was no rush. He had more time in Fan Yu. Staying here for 10 years was equivalent to 2 years in the Divine Domain. From the looks of it, Fan Yu seemed to have a greater advantage. If they were in the same cultivation environment, this place would have a great advantage. After all, time passed faster. Cultivating in the Divine Domain for 2 years was equivalent to cultivating for 10 years outside. How could his breakthrough speed not be fast? In reality, it was not calculated this way. The time in the Divine Domain flowed slower, and it was mainly to cooperate with the cultivator. Especially for Earth monarchs, if they stayed outside, 1,000 years would pass in the blink of an eye. At that time, they would have to accept the heavenly tribulation. If they were in the Divine Domain, be it the cultivation environment or the cultivation time, they would have more time. The key was that the time in the Divine Domain was longer. 2 years was equivalent to 10 years in Fan Yu, so there was no need to be in a hurry to accept the heavenly tribulation. Cultivators were not fools. Otherwise, they would not keep heading to the divine territory. After staying here for a period of time, Yi Tianyun quickly arrived at the spacious planet outside and began to prepare for the heavenly tribulation. Only after the heavenly tribulation could he be considered a 6th refinement Earth monarch. Since he had nothing to do, he found a place to undergo the heavenly tribulation. Upgrade to 6th refinement Earth monarch. Ding, experience deducted, successfully upgraded to 6th refinement Earth monarch. As soon as he finished speaking, thick tribulation clouds immediately surged out from the sky, covering a much wider area than before. Lightning and fire intersected on top of the clouds, flickering endlessly in the sky. The might of the tribulation clouds was much greater than before. A heavenly tribulation at the 6th refinement, huh? It was still destroyed by me with a single punch. Yi Tianyun smiled and immediately rushed up into the sky. He ignored the huge lightning bolts that came crashing down and swung his fist. Boom! An attack with 1,000,000 star power was still blown up by his punch. Then, he punched the tribulation cloud again, and the result was the same as before. Still in the most overbearing manner, he completely shattered the tribulation cloud. Buzz! After the tribulation cloud was blown up, another beam of divine light descended and nourished him, enhancing his physique in all aspects and the concentration of astral power in his body. He instantly felt that his strength had increased tremendously. The higher the level, the harder it was to break through. However, this was all within his tolerance range. There was no pressure at all. Seems like Earth Lord Zhu Lian has no problem at all. Yi Tianyun was full of confidence. If this continued, it would not be a problem for him to defeat Earth Lord Zhu Lian. After the breakthrough, Yi Tianyun returned to the 3 realms. Because he brought back many martial arts, most of the cultivators started to cultivate crazily. Such amazing martial arts made them feel rejuvenated. They continued to cultivate crazily when they were young. When Yi Tianyun saw this situation, he knew that the 3 realms would change greatly the next time he returned. There would be more and more people breaking through to the God King stage. Before going to the deity domain, they still belonged to the God King stage. When they went to the deity domain, their energy would be converted and they could be called Star Lords. Let's do the lottery. He had never had a chance to do the lottery. When he killed the Lord of Heaven, he had already obtained 3 lottery chances. When he broke through to the 5th refinement of the Earth Lord Zhu Lian and killed the Lord of Heaven of the evil spirit race, there was no additional reward. It seemed that he had to be of a higher level. Then, he opened the deity domain lottery roulette. The most exciting moment had arrived. Now, he wanted to get a divine skill to strengthen himself. Although he was not weak now, the stronger he was, the better. Who would dislike being too strong? Lottery. The huge lottery roulette began to spin, and the pointer kept skimming over the lottery category. Soon, the pointer stopped and finally pointed at the divine skill type. Very good. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. It was his first time drawing a divine skill. He had to say that his luck was really good. Dong, a crystal box rolled into his inventory, which made him excited at first. Then, he quickly opened the crystal box and didn't leave it there for long. After opening it, something appeared in front of him. Eyes of Charm, level 4. What, Eyes of Charm? Yi Tianyun was stunned. It was the same as before. After drawing the previous divine skill will be converted into Crazy Point. Of course, it won't upgrade the current divine skill, it needs a lot of Crazy Point. Eyes of Charm can charm the strong cultivator of the Lord of Heaven, not including the Lord of Heaven, they will absolutely obey your orders. Level 4, no cooldown time, can only control 2 people. Next level requires 1 billion Crazy Point. Note, if the opponent's mental power is too strong, or if the opponent is possessed by someone else, it may lead to failure. It seems that I still made a profit. I guessed Eyes of Charm was level 2, but upgrading it to level 4 requires a lot of Crazy Point. Yi Tianyun can only comfort himself. But it does save hundreds of millions of Crazy Point, and he can control the strong cultivator of the Lord of Heaven, which undoubtedly makes it more practical. Again, soon the lottery roulette continued to spin, and the pointer finally pointed at the divine skill. Very good. Yi Tianyun was happy. It seems that today is really lucky, he got a divine skill again. Dong, the crystal box fell into the inventory, and he opened it with anticipation. Another divine skill appeared in front of him, Instant Transmission, level 5. Instant Transmission, teleport to a distance of 500 miles in an instant. Cooldown time is 10 minutes. Next level requires 1 billion Crazy Point. Sure enough, he got the previous divine skill again, which made him feel very depressed, but at least it is level 5, so the distance has increased a lot. Forget it, at least it is a divine skill, I don't need to upgrade it myself. Yi Tianyun comforted himself again, and then rotated the lottery roulette again. He hoped that the last chance will give him a new divine skill. Dong, the crystal box fell again, and a divine skill appeared in front of him, Luck Aura, level 5. Chapter 982. Luck Aura, level 5. Luck Aura can increase luck by 100 times, helping you to have excellent luck in battle or treasure digging. Consumes 100,000 Crazy Points per second. Seeing this consumption, Yi Tianyun was scared and didn't dare to use it anymore. 100,000 Crazy Points per second, it's really too much. In the past, 100,000 Crazy Points could buy a lot of things, but now it's not even enough to use the most basic expenses, and this is a second, not a minute, it's even more than the consumption of Crazy Mode. But 100 times luck, this is quite overbearing. As for luck value, I don't know. Yi Tianyun nodded, but this luck aura has never let him down. Therefore, it's activated at the moment of killing, and there will definitely be a lot of things dropped. 3 lottery draws are gone, I really want to continue to spend Crazy Point on the lottery. Yi Tianyun smacked his lips, if only using Crazy Point to draw the lottery, the price is really expensive, a single draw costs tens of millions of Crazy Point, more expensive than anything else. Now it's very easy to get Crazy Points, so tens of millions of Crazy Points is not a big problem. Almost, it's time to go back, I don't know if Elder Nyan will scold me to death. Yi Tianyun shook his head, suddenly leaving without saying goodbye. If it's someone else, they will go crazy. Immediately, Yi Tianyun went to find Lei Zhengyu. He has been wandering in the 3 realms. Without Yi Tianyun's instructions, he naturally won't leave here. Brother Lei, we are going back. When Yi Tianyun found Lei Zhengyu, he was bored, teaching the disciples of Heavenly Cloud Divine Kingdom to cultivate. Going back so soon? I didn't expect this to be Boss Yi's hometown. Under normal circumstances, you really don't want to expose your hometown. It seems that Boss Yi still trusts me a lot. Lei Zhengyu grinned. We are all human race, we are friends outside, of course we trust each other. Yi Tianyun reached out and patted him on the shoulder, smiled and said, "Thank you this time, if you have any problems, just tell me. Don't worry, if I really need Boss Yi's help, I will definitely not be polite." Lei Zhengyu laughed, "So how do we go back now? Do we take the spirit ship or fly?" "You don't need anything, just stay here." Yi Tianyun smiled and patted him on the shoulder, then said goodbye to Shueyun. "Shueyun, I have to go for now, this place is safe, the evil spirit race will not find this place for the time being. If they really find this place, I believe that we will have enough power to defeat them. Yi Tianyun is confident that as long as he is given a little more time, he will be able to solve the problem. Yi Tianyun said with confidence. I believe you, Shwe said. I Shwe is will, I will Shwe too. Well, I will. Yi Tianyun held her tightly and did not say much, he only knew that his responsibility was greater. It was not to protect the three realms, he simply wanted to protect his family. After saying goodbye, Yi Tianyun went to find Lei Zhengyu to move into the inner world, and then used the teleportation stone to directly return to the heavenly mandate divine realm. It was easy, he did not need to use any divine general summoning order, as long as he placed the person in the inner world, he could easily bring him back. Then, Yi Tianyun gave Lei Zhengyu a lot of treasures, after all, he was his own divine general, and he could not be shabby. Lei Zhengyu did not refuse anything at all, and directly accepted it. He knew that Yi Tianyun had many advantages, and in order not to drag him down, he needed more resources to strengthen himself. Buzz, buzz, buzz. After sending off Lei Zhengyu, the identity token in his arms began to scream, and he took it out and kept shaking. As he continued to sense it, he immediately sensed strong information, constantly surging into his mind. If there is anything, please come back quickly, the heavenly mandate divine realm will help you solve it. Come back quickly, the battle to heaven in the divine realm is about to begin, don't run around. If you come back, please go to Elder Nyan. Elder Nyan can help you settle anything. All kinds of information seemed to be accumulating, and they were all transmitted to him, making his ears buzz. He had to say that the treatment was absolutely different, if there was no use, no matter where he went, he would not care. Now his status was not low, and the battle to heaven in the divine realm depended on him to get a good result. As for Murong Xiao, he could only stand aside. Through the situation of the life-sacred hall this time, everyone felt that Yi Tianyun would have a greater chance than Murong Xiao, especially since he did not need to distribute too many benefits. There was no doubt that more attention would be paid to training. As expected, they are looking for me everywhere. Yi Tianyun shook his head, and immediately went directly to the heavenly mandate divine planet, where Nyan Tsiyu was waiting. Before he arrived at the heavenly mandate divine planet, a familiar figure appeared in front of Yi Tianyun, reaching out to knock him on the head. Yi Tianyun dodged the attack lightly. Hey, how dare you dodge? It was Nyan Tsiyu who appeared in front of Yi Tianyun, looking at him angrily, just wanting to teach him a simple lesson. Hihi, don't be angry, Elder Nyan, I am back now, am I not? Yi Tianyun shrugged helplessly. Where have you been? This is a critical period, if you don't come back, then the loss will be great. Nyan Tsiyu stared at him and said. I went back to my hometown for a while, it is a relatively urgent matter. Yi Tianyun did not lie, anyway, they all knew this. Is there something urgent? If there is anything, we can send someone to help you solve it, Nyan Tsiyu asked. Can you help me solve the matter of the evil spirit clan? Yi Tianyun looked at her and smiled faintly. The evil spirit clan. Nyan Tsiyu's eyes turned cold, looked at him and said in a deep voice, where is it? I will help you solve it. Without saying anything, she immediately went to help Yi Tianyun solve the problem, which was somewhat unexpected. Isn't the evil spirit clan at the level of the second-grade god realm, or even the third-grade god realm? Won't you bring danger to the heavenly mandate divine realm by doing this? Yi Tianyun asked curiously. Everyone has the right to kill the evil spirit clan, especially the forces of Fan Yu, they are extremely disgusted. Many of our clansmen have been devoured by them. They have offended so many people, how dare they come here openly? Nyan Tsiyu snorted coldly and said, our forces are not as strong as them, but we will never compromise. Chapter 983. In that case, since so many cultivators hate the evil spirit race so much, why don't we join forces to eliminate them? Yi Tianyun thought for a moment, then asked, or perhaps even more powerful divine realm forces to get rid of them. Yi Tianyun did not understand much about this. Why didn't they exterminate such a disgusting race? Instead, they allowed them to cause trouble in Fan Yu's faction and occasionally in the divine realm. The reason is simple. The place they cause trouble is mainly Fan Yu. As for the divine realm, they only attack the more remote ones. At most, they are within the second-grade divine realm. As for our side, if we join forces, they won't be able to take us down. Nyan Ciu said helplessly. As for the high-grade divine realm, they are indifferent to this aspect. To them, as long as it does not harm their interests, they will not send out a single soldier. Reality was cruel. As long as it did not touch their interests, they could not be bothered to care about what Fan Yu did. This was equivalent to those high and mighty rich people. It did not matter how the poor people in the slums were killed or starved to death. Even if they had more food than they could eat, they would not give them any. Especially the high-level divine realm. Do you think there will be fewer who are more ferocious than the evil spirit race? Nyan Ciu shook her head. The world was vast and full of wonders. The evil spirit race was just one of the many races. Was there anything more ferocious than the evil spirit race? The answer was yes. It was just that they were powerful. No matter what they did, who would dare to resist? The fist was respected. The stronger one was, the harder the truth. Looks like we can only settle these matters ourselves. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Then hurry up and bring me over. I'll help you take care of them. Nyan Ciu took out the spirit ship and prepared to bring Yi Tianyun there. No need. Does Elder Nyan think that I can't deal with them? He smiled. Several killing gods had been instantly killed by him, let alone a mere evil spirit race. Thinking about it, you are not weak. It is not difficult to deal with them. However, if a stronger Lord of Heaven or a divine Lord were to come out, it would be troublesome. Nyan Ciu frowned, but normally, the evil spirit race would not attack the human race for no reason, unless there is something they need. Nyan Ciu's ability wasn't weak. Previously in the god-killing pagoda, she was at most able to unleash half of her strength. In fact, most of them could only unleash half of their full power. However, due to Yi Tianyun's heaven-defying title, he was not affected. If one thought that her power was just like that, then one would be thinking too much. When she truly erupted with power, even those death gods would be taken care of by her. It was just that Yi Tianyun was more violent and finished them off faster. That's not important for the time being. I can still make it if I join the ascending battle of the deity domain now, right? Yi Tianyun didn't say much in this aspect. Right now, he just needed to raise his cultivation. There's still time. Right now, everyone is testing their bone age. Most of them have arrived. Only you are left. Nyan Ciu said helplessly. There's a test for bone age? Yi Tianyun was puzzled. Yes, if you cultivate for too long, they won't allow you to participate in the competition. I believe that no matter what, it's impossible for you to have cultivated for 10,000 years, right? Nyan Ciu looked at him and her gaze was a little unfocused as though she didn't trust him. 10,000 years. Yi Tianyun had a strange expression as he looked at her and asked doubtfully, is there a huge limit to this bone age? There is definitely a limit. Although 10,000 years isn't considered long, 10,000 years to cultivate to the Earth Monarch realm, if it was you, would you take me in as a disciple? Nyan Ciu smiled and said. This depends on the situation. Yi Tianyun thought seriously for a moment. Nyan Ciu rolled her eyes at him and said, all right, other people will definitely think that you are an old monster. Otherwise, why would your mental power be so heaven-defying? Hihi, that's hard to say. Yi Tianyun smiled and didn't refute anything. Instead, he asked, oh right, the time in the divine territory is different from that of Fan Yu. So, how is the bone age calculated? This is definitely calculated based on where you are. Anyway, you will know after the test. Now that you haven't appeared for a long time, people will think that you are hiding. Nyan Ciu didn't say much. She grabbed him and flew to their destination. Soon, Nyan Ciu brought him to their destination, Kai Tian Star. Actually, it wasn't a special place. It was just a place where people gathered. When he came here, there were many cultivators testing their bone age. Do you see the old man in front? The person testing his bone age is not from the heavenly mandate divine territory. He is the executor of this battle to the heavens in the divine territory, Nyan Ciu explained when she brought him down. Every divine territory had executors who went to test themselves. After all, It was definitely not very accurate for each divine territory to test themselves. Maybe some people would hide it. Therefore, they had to send executors over. As for whether or not they would be afraid that they would be paid to let people hide their bone age and sneak in, there was definitely such a thing. It was just that they must not be chosen as a disciple. Once they were chosen as a disciple and proved that their bone age exceeded the standard, the executor and the divine territory that provided the cultivator would be severely punished. For this reason, some divine territories spent money to buy people to go in. They were mainly for support and would not try to get into the top 100. If they were caught, they would definitely die. However, just as they came down, the cultivators all looked over. Yi Tianyun saw some familiar faces, but there were more unfamiliar faces. The familiar ones included Murong Xiao, Yuan Tianyu, and the disciples from the core hall. There were also other disciples, who were from the inner hall. Nyan Ciyu's arrival attracted many people's attention. Nyan Ciyu could be said to be their goddess. When they saw Nyan Ciyu, their eyes were filled with admiration. However, when they saw Yi Tianyun beside her, they immediately looked as if they had eaten a fly. Some began to guess Yi Tianyun's identity. As for those who knew Yi Tianyun, some were full of jealousy, and some were full of admiration. Everyone had different thoughts. Who is the person beside Elder Nyan? To think that Elder Nyan personally brought him over. It is really grand. He doesn't know. He is the super genius Yi Tianyun who has been in the limelight recently. The outside world says that he is an old monster, but the truth is that he is already 30 to 40,000 years old. He has always been pretending to be young. 30 to 40,000 years old? Is it that exaggerated? If that is the case, wouldn't it be very shameful? He might not even be able to participate in the Divine Territory Ascension battle. That's not it. Maybe it is like that. I heard that he has been hiding for a long time. Now that Elder Nyan has found him to test him, he is dead for sure. That's true. We have been testing for so long. Basically, most of the people who are participating in the Divine Territory Ascension battle have arrived. He should have come earlier. This time, he might really be caught. There will be a good show to watch. Chapter 984. Feeling the gloating gazes around him, Yi Tianyun shrugged his shoulders. These people were really bored enough, wishing for others to be weaker. They really hope that I'm an old monster. Yi Tianyun shook his head and said, "Only then will it be in line with your identity as a human, isn't it?" Nyan Ciyu smiled, her tone full of ridicule. The position of the human race was that they had poor talent and could only rely on time to put it together. If Yi Tianyun was an old monster, then all the previous records could basically be nullified. Because if it was any other cultivator who had lived for such a long time, they could also obtain such records. Therefore, if his bone age was found to be above 10,000 years, then Yi Tianyun's name as a genius would immediately be removed. That's true. Yi Tianyun laughed self-deprecatingly and said, "It's just a pity, they will definitely be disappointed." Yi Tianyun did not say much and lifted his feet to walk forward. However, he had only taken a few steps when Murong Xiao blocked in front of him. She put her hands on her waist and looked at him angrily and said, "Where did you go previously? I haven't seen you for so long. Let me tell you, I'm almost at the bottom, but you disappeared. Well, I have something to do temporarily, so I went out for a while." Yi Tianyun touched his nose and said helplessly, "But I can't go back to cultivate now. I'm preparing to participate in the Divine Territory Ascending battle." Humph. Murong Xiao pointed at him and snorted coldly, "In this Divine Territory Ascending battle, my ranking will definitely be higher than yours." "Is that so? That couldn't be better. I believe the Territorial Lord will be very happy." Yi Tianyun shrugged. He did not feel too much about this ranking being higher than him. Surpassing him was the other party's ability. Especially since they were from the same force, then what difference did it make who surpassed who? Murong Xiao saw that Yi Tianyun was so indifferent and immediately became angry. You wait and see." She stomped her feet angrily and walked to the side, too lazy to bother with Yi Tianyun. Yuan Tianyu hurriedly came over and consoled her. "Miss Mu, don't lower yourself to his level. Who knows, he might be an old monster. What's there to compete with? You'll be eliminated when the time comes. As Yuan Tianyu comforted Murong Xiao, he glanced sideways at Yi Tianyun, his eyes filled with jealousy and resentment. Originally, he was the number one in the core hall. However, after Yi Tianyun's arrival, everything ceased to exist. Yi Tianyun attracted everyone's attention, causing him, who was originally full of glory, to dim in an instant. At first, he didn't know much about it, but when he came out of the Church of Life and learned about it, he was immediately dumbfounded. The records were all things that he couldn't have imagined before, plus he ran to the bottom of the Church of Life, pulling the distance further and further. It was unknown who was the first to spread the rumor that Yi Tianyun was an old demon. If Yi Tianyun was an old demon, then all glory was nothing. Give him 10,000 years, he would definitely surpass Yi Tianyun. Not just him, other geniuses were the same. Hence, they all wanted to see what Yi Tianyun's true bone age was. Of course, even if he didn't surpass 10,000 years, if he was above 8,000 or 9,000 years old, then it would similarly make people feel contemptuous. This was still the standard of geniuses. It was simply more average, all relying on the accumulation of time. None of your business, don't follow me. Murong Xiao snorted coldly, completely ignoring Yuan Tianyu, lifting his feet and disappearing into the crowd. She already finished testing her bone age, so there was no need to continue staying here. What remained was to wait for the Divine Realm's battle to ascend to heaven to begin. Yuan Tianyu was incredibly embarrassed and could only stop obediently, his face full of awkwardness. The ridiculing gazes nearby made his self-esteem suffer a setback. Damn it, Yuan Tianyu, can't get any woman I want. Just you wait, when my ranking is higher than yours, I'll make your Mu clan kneel down. Yuan Tianyu thought hatefully in his heart. That Yuan Tianyu is at a disadvantage. Murong Xiao completely ignored him. Isn't that for sure? Murong Xiao is really an absolute genius, cultivating for less than 100 years and already reaching such a cultivation. There are few opponents, right? 100 years to cultivate to the 7th refinement Earth Monarch, simply inconceivable. That Yuan Tianyu's bone age is around 500 years, right? The difference is 5 times the time. So what if it's 5 times the time? That's still not what we can compare to. Among them, there were some supporters of Yuan Tianyu who started to refute. Yuan Tianyu couldn't compare to Murong Xiao, but could they compare? There were many cultivators present whose bone age was at least above 3,000 to 4,000 years, even 6,000 to 7,000 years was very normal. In any case, it was fine as long as it didn't exceed 10,000 years. The problem was that the more conspicuous geniuses, their bone age absolutely could not be too high. Too high meant that they were letting down the name of genius. Given that much time, some geniuses could reach the standard. Yi Tianyun listened in all directions, the discussion on the side made him smile. To him, what was really important was not bone age, but a Dao heart. So what if it took a little more time? Otherwise, a heart demon would come over, and any genius would collapse. Bone age 4,673 years, qualified, next. The executor in front had a crystal in his hand, and the cultivators in front of him reached out and pressed their hands on it. There was no need to inject any energy, the energy transmitted by the crystal wrapped around their hands, and soon, their bone age was tested. Then, the next person lined up and continued to test their bone age, and it didn't take long for the bone age to appear. This bone age data was naturally transmitted to the old man's brain through the crystal, and it would not appear on the crystal. Bone age 5,765 years, qualified, next. The executor nodded, indicating that there was no problem. He was expressionless, just like an impartial elder, helping them test their bone age, and then recording their data firmly as precious data. When the people in front saw Yi Tianyun and Nyan Tsiyu coming over, some of them moved to the side, not even lining up. They just wanted Yi Tianyun to test his bone age, to see if Yi Tianyun was an old monster. It seems that everyone wants to see you make a fool of yourself. Nyan Tsiyu shook her head. Yi Tianyun smiled and didn't say anything more, lifting his feet to walk forward. He was about to say that he would slowly line up, but now it seemed that there was no need to line up. When the executor saw the people lining up at the side, they all moved to the side, and looked at Yi Tianyun in confusion, as if he was a cultivator that no one thought highly of. The executor didn't say anything, anyway, his duty was to test, and the rest had nothing to do with him. Yi Tianyun came in front of him, and very generously extended his hand, gesturing for the executor to test his bone age. He wasn't afraid at all. Everyone looked over with a very expectant expression, looking forward to Yi Tianyun being an old monster. Then, the executor used a crystal and started to test Yi Tianyun's bone age. When the energy transmitted by the crystal enveloped Yi Tianyun, the executor was stunned. Chapter 985. Bone age of 29. When it was announced, all the cultivators who wanted to see the executor say that he was 8 or 9,000 years old, or even 10,000 years old, were dumbfounded on the spot and looked at the executor in disbelief. Not only the executor was shocked, but Nyan Ciyu was also shocked. She thought that Yi Tianyun would be over 100 years old, or about 1,000 years old. Perhaps they were around 1,000 years old. Not too old, but at least a little older. Yi Tianyun came from Fan Yu, not from the divine realm, so his cultivation would naturally be much slower. Murong Xiao could have such cultivation in less than 100 years, mainly because she was born in the divine realm, and her starting point was completely different from others. In addition, her family was relatively strong, so it was not surprising that she could have such a breakthrough in 100 years. Yi Tianyun came from Fan Yu, but he could reach such a cultivation at the age of 29. It was incredible. After the executor came back to his senses, he took off the crystal with a sullen face, took out another crystal from the storage ring, and prepared to continue the test. There was no doubt that the executor thought there was a problem with the crystal, and he wanted to test it with another one. What? It turns out that the executor thinks there is a problem with the crystal. It is really possible that there is a problem with the crystal. We must try another one. Yes, I think so too. It is very likely that there is a problem with the crystal. After testing so many people, there is more or less a problem. It is time to change it. 29 years old, how is this possible? All of them shook their heads, thinking that it was impossible for Yi Tianyun to be only 29 years old. No one would believe that he could create such a terrible record at the age of 29, at least now, no one would believe it. Even the executor doubted whether there was a problem with his crystal. Otherwise, how could it be tested as 29 years old? At the same time, he also found that Yi Tianyun's cultivation was the 6th refining Earth Lord. If it was not the 6th refining Earth Lord, he would not be so suspicious. If Yi Tianyun was only at the Spirit King stage, the executor would not care. Of course, the heavenly mandate divine realm would definitely be scolded. The lowest standard was the 1st refining Earth Lord, so how could they not be scolded? Yi Tianyun looked indifferent, ignoring all the ridicule and suspicion around him. The executor took out a crystal and wrapped it around Yi Tianyun's palm. After continuing the test, his hand shook slightly, and the crystal in his hand slipped and fell to the ground. Clang, a clear and melodious sound rang out. However, this crystal wasn't that easily damaged. It attracted everyone's attention, and the executor was dumbfounded. No, it's impossible, right? The executor took out the crystal stone again and continued to test Yi Tianyun, but the result was the same again and again, there was no difference. Following that, many of the cultivators saw a strange scene. The executor kept changing the crystals, one after another. Finally, he looked at him as if he had seen a ghost. Really has a bone age of 29 years. Then many practitioners saw a strange scene. The executor kept changing the crystal, one after another, and finally looked at him as if he had seen a ghost. Is it really 29 years old? How was it possible that the 6th refining Earth Lord was only 29 years old? Everyone's expression of disbelief gradually became shocked. It was really 29 years old, which made them feel very incredible. No way, is it really 29 years old? They were all stunned and felt very incredible. Before, they all thought that there was something wrong with the crystal, but now it seemed that it was not the crystal, but Yi Tianyun was really only 29 years old. It seems that he is really 29 years old, not an old monster at all. Could he be an old monster who took over someone else's body? You can think of taking over someone else's body. Even if he really took over the body of a 29-year-old, even if it was the soul of an old monster, He may not be able to create such a record in such a short time. Taking over someone's body, this is a bit interesting. Maybe it is true. If it is taking over someone else's body, then it is not surprising to get such a result. It's just that this crystal doesn't have the ability to test the soul. All of them thought that Yi Tianyun was taking over someone else's body. If he took over a young person's body and then cultivated like crazy, then he might be able to reach such a standard. In the end, they still didn't think that Yi Tianyun had such a standard. All of you are talking nonsense. If it is taking over someone else's body, why would a heaven-defying expert take over a human that you all look down on? Or perhaps he would cultivate in Fan Yu. Wouldn't there be a break-in period for taking over someone else's body, and he can immediately break through like crazy? That's right, it is fine that you all look down on us humans, but a genius appeared and got slapped in the face, and you all still refuse to admit it. Just based on your thoughts, it is truly despicable. The ones who refuted were naturally Yi Tianyun's supporters. They were the humans that participated in this God Realm Ascension battle. Many of them were outstanding disciples of the Inner Hall, so they had the opportunity to participate in this God Realm Ascension battle. It was just that there weren't many of them, and they were pitifully few compared to the others. Everyone was pointed at their noses and scolded. Their faces alternated between green and white. These words were true. Taking over someone's body wasn't that simple. If the body wasn't suitable, then it was also useless. In particular, the break-in period required a considerable amount of time. Without at least 100 years of time, how could one completely break into this body? Especially the self-deprecating point. Why would a heaven-defying seizing powerhouse try to take over the body of a human? So you all think that he relied on his own ability to break through to this level at such a young age? Isn't that nonsense? He is standing right in front of you, alive and well, and he even came from Fan Yu. He passed through the baptism of the God Realm. This is something that no one can deceive. Passing through the baptism of the God Realm proved that this was Yi Tianyun's first time here, otherwise it would be impossible for him to pass through the baptism of the God Realm. This was something that no one could deceive, and no one could refute. But they couldn't continue to refute. Yi Tianyun was just too terrifying. He had such ability at such a young age, and if he was given a bit more time, just how terrifying would he be? Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. He knew that this would cause such a sensation. I didn't expect that I would soon become an uncle. He rubbed his nose. He was almost 30 years old, and to cultivators, this age was no different from a child. To mortals, being 30 years old was considered quite an old age. Lord Executor, do we still need to test him? Yi Tianyun looked at the executor, who was sweating profusely, and smiled knowingly. No, there's no need. He is indeed 29 years old, and his cultivation is at the 6th refinement of the Earth Monarch realm. He is absolutely outstanding. When the executor read it out, he felt that it was inconceivable. There were a few points that made him feel that it was inconceivable, and that was that he came from the human race and Fan Yu. These 2 points made him feel that it was extremely shocking. Chapter 986. After obtaining the approval of the executor, everyone obediently shut up. They were all shocked at how exactly did Yi Tianyun cultivate. If it wasn't through possession, what exactly did Fan Yu have that could allow such a shocking genius to appear? Murong Xiao was a genius. He was born in the God domain and was even nurtured by a decent family with resources. What could Yi Tianyun have? Even the nobles in Fan Yu couldn't compare to the smallest family in the God domain, right? This made them puzzled. For a moment, there were still people who stubbornly said that it was a possession by an expert, otherwise, it wouldn't be so heaven-defying. Based on Yi Tianyun's situation, it could only be a possession by an expert. But even if it was a possession by an expert, it wasn't against the rules. According to the rules, the only thing that mattered was the body's bone age, everything else wasn't a problem. Even if it was a possession, it wouldn't be a problem. The higher-ups weren't fools, they knew what choice they had to make. You guys keep insisting on possession. Do you really understand the theory behind possession? At this moment, Nyan Ciyu's voice rang out, attracting everyone's attention. Her eyes were filled with disappointment. An expert needs to find an extremely good physique for possession, the cultivation cannot be too low, unless their soul is extremely weak. Otherwise, it would be extremely difficult for them to enter the body of a few years old or a teenager. If they forcefully possess, there will only be one result, and that is the body exploding. The body won't be able to withstand such a strong force. It's the same logic as you guys consuming high-grade pills. You won't be able to withstand it. Looks like you guys didn't study properly. You don't even know this basic knowledge. Go and cultivate in seclusion. Nyan Ci Yu stood out to teach them a lesson, not giving them any face at all. Regarding the situation of Yi Tianyun's possession, she was really filled with anger. The harshness of possession. Those with high cultivation knew that if it was simple, who wouldn't want to possess someone? This was like the god-slaying pagoda, only after going through careful selection and absorbing all sorts of baleful energy, meeting the most suitable conditions. If they could possess someone the moment they stepped onto the stage, they would have come out long ago. If the soul was weak, they would need to slowly nourish the soul before they could cultivate. Thus, it was very difficult to possess an extremely young physique and quickly raise one's cultivation. If there was really such a thing, there was only one possibility, and that was that this person was originally a super genius, and his cultivation was not low, which was why he was possessed. In that case, there was no doubt that Yi Tianyun had been possessed. Therefore, the big shots who organized the Divine Domain Ascension battle were definitely not fools. If such a person really existed, then he must be a super genius. They would not reject a super genius. After being scolded by Nyan Ci Yu, they all lowered their heads. Thinking about it carefully, it did make sense. However, in order to comfort themselves, they could only find this stupid excuse. At the end of the day, he just didn't want to admit defeat. He didn't want to lose to a human. It was that simple. This kind of atmosphere couldn't be changed, even if you had great achievements. Yi Tianyun shook his head. He was already used to this. After coming to God's domain, the discrimination was even more severe. In the three realms, they were already discriminated against quite a lot. In God's domain, the discrimination was even more severe. They were basically no different from trash, making people have the feeling that they exploded with powerful strength during the assessment, and others even suspected whether they had consumed some heaven-defying pill and not their own pill. It really made people feel sad. Immediately after, Yi Tianyun didn't say much. He turned and left, leaving behind a group of dumbfounded disciples. Among them, Yuan Tianyu clenched his fists tightly. Previously, he also thought that Yi Tianyun was an old monster. But now, he wasn't an old monster at all. He even had Nyan Ci Yu's help to support him. This treatment, this special honor, it wasn't what he could compare to. Damn it, why are all the benefits being taken by this guy? Yuan Tianyu felt very unwilling, but he could only choose to remain silent. Nyan Ci Yu swept a glance at them and said sternly, "Cultivate well. This God's Domain Ascension battle is your chance. If you can fight your way into the top 100, you can be said to have a meteoric rise. Instead of talking nonsense here, it's better to prepare properly." Yes. They could only respond and quickly dispersed. Originally, after they finished the assessment, they should go back and wait to set off. Coincidentally, Nyan Ci Yu brought Yi Tianyun over, so they all stayed behind to watch. Who knew that they would see such a shocking thing? Yi Tianyun's bone age of 29 years crushed Murong Xiao. Yi Tianyun was a true youth. In contrast, Murong Xiao's youth was equivalent to an old woman in comparison. Many thanks to Elder Nyan for speaking up for me just now. Although Yi Tianyun didn't mind these things, he still felt some gratitude towards Nyan Ci Yu for speaking up for him. There's nothing to thank for this. I'm just speaking the truth. If you have a bone age of over a few hundred years, I might still believe this. But for someone who was possessed within 100 years and still able to cultivate to such a level, it's really something impossible. Nyan Ci Yu shook her head. Her eyes were filled with doubt. I'm very curious. How exactly did you cultivate? You're already at the 6th refinement Earth Monarch. She remembered that Yi Tianyun wasn't even at the 4th refinement Earth Monarch. In such a short time, he had already broken through to the 6th refinement Earth Monarch. It was truly unbelievable. Well, I broke through as I cultivated. Yi Tianyun shrugged his shoulders helplessly. He didn't say these words carelessly. He just casually killed some monsters, absorbed some energy, and then broke through. Nyan Ciu rolled her eyes at him and said, "Forget it, I won't say much about this matter. It seems like both of us elders can't teach you anything. Later, don't run anymore. Stay with me. It won't be long before we set off." "All right." Yi Tianyun felt helpless. Nyan Ciu was scared by him. If he disappeared again, where would she go to find him? There wasn't much time left. If he disappeared again, it would really be asking for his life. Immediately after, Nyan Ciu brought Yi Tianyun to her own residence to cultivate together. She didn't bring him anywhere else. There wasn't much time. After staying in the residence for over a month, they set off. This time, when they set off to their destination, they all took a giant spirit ship to their destination. This was where all the participants were accommodated. Yi Tianyun glanced around. There were over 200 participants. There weren't many of them, but they were all elites among elites. The lowest cultivation was at the 2nd refinement Earth Monarch realm. The highest cultivation was at the 7th refinement Earth Monarch realm. Of course, there was only one person at this level, and that was Murong Xiao. The rest were mainly at the 3rd or 4th refinement Earth Monarch realm. The number of 6th refinement Earth Monarchs was less than a handful. Yi Tianyun chose a corner to meditate. In any case, there wasn't anyone he was familiar with. Chapter 987. Tell me, how did you cultivate? Your bone age is 29 years old. Are you kidding me? A familiar voice rang in his ears. Yi Tianyun did not need to open his eyes to know that it was Murong Xiao who spoke. The little girl, Murong Xiao, was the only one in the entire place. She did not care about the situation around her at all. She would say whatever she wanted and do whatever she wanted. She was indeed a rich young lady. A genius young lady who grew up in the divine territory was most likely spoiled. Whether I'm kidding you or not, you can verify it with the executor. He will give you an answer. Yi Tianyun was too lazy to open his eyes. This little girl was stubborn and did not want to lose to him. Then tell me how you cultivated. You are so much younger than me. Murong Xiao did not give up. She wanted to find out the secret of cultivation from Yi Tianyun. The situation here immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding cultivators. They all pricked up their ears, not willing to miss a single word. They were curious about Yi Tianyun's cultivation speed. If they could know how he cultivated, it would naturally be the best thing. I broke through as I cultivated, but I don't know why. Yi Tianyun slowly opened his eyes and looked at her with a faint smile. Maybe this is talent. When the word talent came out of his mouth, everyone had a strange look on their faces. A human saying that he was very talented was like a poor man saying that he was very rich. If you don't want to say it, then don't say it. Murong Xiao was very unhappy. She sat beside Yi Tianyun and closed her eyes to cultivate. The others were speechless. They thought that they could learn some cultivation method from Yi Tianyun, but there was no news at all. Thinking about it carefully, how could Yi Tianyun tell them the secret? If it was someone else, they would not be willing to tell their cultivation method. Unless he had been kicked in the head, it was impossible for him to say such words. When Yuan Tianyu saw Murong Xiao meditating beside Yi Tianyun, he was so jealous that his eyes were about to spit fire. He had been chasing after Murong Xiao like a madman, but the latter had ignored him. Yi Tianyun ignored Murong Xiao, but Murong Xiao stuck to him. Yi Tianyun couldn't help but curse in his heart. Bitch. He was jealous. He was jealous of everything. Everyone's attention was on Yi Tianyun. As for his situation, no one cared about him at all. Although he didn't like it, he didn't dare to take action or say it out loud. He could only keep it in his heart. They were not allowed to fight here, not even in a competition. They were already preparing to participate in the Ascending Heavens battle in the Divine Domain. If they were to get injured here, it would definitely not be worth it. Even if there were people who didn't like Yi Tianyun, they could only hold it in. The real future was to obtain good results in the Ascending Heavens battle in the Divine Domain, not to be stupid here. Thus, even if there were people who were unhappy with Yi Tianyun along the way, they still safely arrived at the destination of the ascending heavens battle in the divine domain, the divine war continent. Look, we're almost there. At this time, some cultivators sat up from their meditation. They had stayed on the spirit ship for half a year. Finally, they could see their destination. How could they not be excited? Especially since this was a place that could allow people to soar to the top. It was hard not to be excited. One by one, they opened their eyes and looked outside the spirit ship. Immediately, they saw an incomparably huge continent floating in the air. It wasn't a huge planet, but a huge continent. At a glance, they couldn't see the end of it. This was the battlefield they were going to participate in. Yi Tianyun also opened his eyes. What he saw was a vast continent. It wasn't a planet. Although it wasn't a planet, there wasn't much difference between the two. In any case, it was fine as long as they could stay on it. At the same time, they looked around and discovered that there were other spirit ships flying in other directions. Every divine domain had their own camp. Thus, not all of them were gathered together. Soon, their spirit ships descended from the sky and landed accurately outside a temple. There wasn't a single person inside the temple. It was completely empty. There wasn't even a guard. Everyone, go in. Nyan Tsiu led the team inside. Even the other elders followed along. As for the region lord, she didn't come with them. The region lord would definitely come to watch. However, the place they were heading to was naturally different from where they were. Thus, they were all led by the elders to wait inside the temple. Then, they all followed in and stood at the side, waiting for Nyan Tsiu's orders. Some of you have participated in the Ascending Heavens battle in the Divine Domain before. You all have more experience. I hope that you can lead the team and guide the new junior apprentice brothers. Nyan Tsiu glanced at everyone and said solemnly, "This Ascending Heavens battle is a brand new starting point for all of you. If you can obtain good results, your future will be bright. Here, I hope that everyone will put aside all prejudices and focus on breaking through to the divine domain for the Ascending Heavens battle. After all, your true enemies aren't your own sect members, but the other divine domains. At the same time, I don't wish to see any sect members harming each other. Once discovered, after the Ascending Heavens battle ends, you will definitely be punished severely." Everyone looked at each other. Indeed, they had to put aside their personal prejudices here. So what if they killed their own sect members? It wouldn't increase their ranking at all. If they cooperated well, it could be said that both sides would benefit. At this moment, everyone couldn't help but look at Yi Tianyun, Murong Xiao, and the others. With their leadership, there was no doubt that there would be a lot more hope for success. They didn't need to fight their way into the top 100. Fighting their way into the top 500 was already extremely glorious. Even if the other divine domains didn't reward them, their respective camps would still reward them handsomely. After all, with so many divine domains fighting each other, it was more for their own face and dignity. Next, it will depend on your own abilities. I am very much looking forward to your results. If you can obtain excellent results, it will be very beneficial for you and for our heavenly mandate realm. Nyan Tsiu looked at them and said, "That's all for now. Next, it's time to distribute the elixirs." Following that, they distributed a lot of recovery elixirs and healing elixirs. In this battle, the consumption was shocking, so they naturally needed more elixirs. After all the elixirs were distributed, Nyan Tsiu and the other elders were ready to leave. They couldn't continue to stay here. "Work hard. We will all see it." When Nyan Tsiu passed by Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao, she looked at them and nodded. She didn't say anything to anyone. Chapter 988. The participants were all locked inside the shrine and couldn't leave for the time being. However, they all stood at the entrance and looked outside, wanting to see what the battlefield looked like. Yi Tianyun also stood at the entrance and looked at the battlefield outside. Actually, he couldn't feel anything here. It was no different from the other planets. There was no pressure, and there were no special dangers. From afar, it was a barren land with only a forest on the horizon. As for the other places, he couldn't see clearly. Apart from this, there were other temples in the distance, and there was more than one of them. It was as if the entire God War continent was surrounded by them in a circle. There were at least a few dozen of them in his line of sight. If he added them all up, there would probably be more than 100 or even a few hundred of them. This meant that there were more than 100 god realms participating. If each god realm sent 200 to 300 people, there would be tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands. However, only 100 people could be selected. As for whether they could be selected, that was another matter. Although they were grade 2 god realms, only one grade higher, the difference in power was like heaven and earth. At the end of the day, grade 2 god realms were internal forces. Most of them were native god realm experts. This was the reason why they were so arrogant. They could enjoy a more concentrated star force. Most of the cultivators that came from Fan Yu were not worthy of their attention, unless they were extremely outstanding. That was why they only listed the top 100. They wanted the elites of the elites and couldn't be bothered to look at the rest. If they were included in the forces, they might even be a burden. As expected of the ascending battle of the god realm, only those who can rank first can be considered to have truly ascended to the heavens. Yi Tianyun sighed as he looked at the forces outside. This was definitely going to be a massacre. When the time came, all the geniuses would be fighting each other. Whether they could escape would depend on their own abilities. Since they didn't know when it would start, they all sat there cross-legged. The cultivators who had participated before started to explain proudly. Just wait for a while. In about a week, we will wait for all the participants to arrive. When the preparations start, we will give you a token. This token is your life. Without the token, you will be eliminated. What kind of tests will there be in the future? It's hard to say about the assessment. There will be some changes every time. However, there won't be any changes in the first round, which is the selection. We have to cut at least half of our numbers. Cut down more than half of our numbers. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. If there were more than 100,000 people participating, wouldn't that mean that more than 50,000 people would be eliminated? This elimination was too cruel. So many people were eliminated at once. Yes, the first test is none other than to collect command tokens, and only when a certain number of command tokens are obtained will one be able to be selected. Therefore, you have to grasp this opportunity and snatch more tokens. Only then will you be selected. As for how many pieces will be needed, I'm not sure. In short, if you feel that you can't beat your opponent, just admit defeat and throw out the token. You'll be teleported back here. It was just that he didn't have the qualifications. Fortunately, his life was saved. There's no such thing as surrender here. No matter what they say, as long as they don't throw out their tokens, don't think that they've really surrendered. Who knows, they might sneak attack you when you're not paying attention. These seniors started to explain. Their talent was not bad, but it wasn't heaven-defying. Their advantage was that they had participated more than once or twice. Therefore, they were surrounded by groups of people, constantly interrogating them about all sorts of things so that they could be prepared. Here, there wouldn't be anyone to explain to them. Once the killing started, the enemy wouldn't give them a chance to explain. When the time comes, you'll form a team with us. This way, your chances of winning will be higher. The young man who was explaining was called Sikong Ma. After explaining for a while, he looked at Yi Tianyun and asked, "Do you want to form a team with us? Since we're from the same sect, we should cooperate well." Yi Tianyun looked at him indifferently, then said slowly, "There's no need. I'm used to traveling alone." How could he not understand what the other party was thinking? It seemed like he was explaining the situation, but in fact, he was trying to win over the hearts of the people, so that they could fight together. As for how to split the command tokens, that would definitely be decided by the leader. This wasn't a wrong method. With more people together, it would definitely be safer. However, Yi Tianyun didn't like it. Earning the command tokens in this way was undoubtedly extremely difficult. Sikong Ma's face darkened. A cold light flashed in his eyes, but it disappeared in the blink of an eye. "You really don't know what's good for you. Senior brother Sima was kind enough to take care of you, but you actually don't appreciate it." "That's right. Elder Nyan said that we should be united. Aren't you being ununited?" One by one, they started to criticize Yi Tianyun. Deep in their eyes, They were scheming to take advantage of him. Yi Tianyun was so powerful, how could he let him go? Sikong Ma raised his hand to stop them. Then, he sighed and said, "He's a genius with his own abilities. Naturally, he doesn't like to team up with us. Miss Mo, I wonder if you're willing to join us? I'm very experienced here. I guarantee that you'll be able to obtain a lot of command tokens in the first round. You'll gain an excellent advantage." When he saw that he couldn't rope in Yi Tianyun, he started to turn to Murong Xiao and the others. He wanted to rope in someone with strong combat strength. "I'm not interested." Murong Xiao waved his hand. He rejected them without any hesitation. This made Sikong Ma's face turn even uglier. He didn't expect that he would be rejected twice. "Miss Mo, are you really not going to consider it? We have 3 people who are very familiar with the environment here. They definitely have a lot of experience. I guarantee that you'll be able to obtain excellent result." Sikong Ma continued to persuade her. "A lot of experience. I don't think you'll be able to get into the top 100. Murong Xiao stared at them as if he was looking at an idiot. "What experience? You can keep it for yourselves." "Phut." Yi Tianyun immediately laughed out loud. This girl's mouth was really poisonous. She hit the nail on the head. "What a lot of experience. That's useless here. You can't even get into the top 100, or even the top 500, and you're still bragging here?" Sikong Ma's face turned even uglier. This was no doubt that he was exposed. Indeed, he didn't get good results. There were so many powerful people here. His rich experience could give him a better start. However, it was just a start. Those who were truly powerful could get good results even if it was their first time here. Everyone looked at each other. They wanted to scold Murong Xiao, but they didn't dare to do so. This was because Murong Xiao had the ability to scold people. They didn't dare to retort even when they were scolded. Chapter 989. "Brother Sima, I'm willing to team up with you." At this time, Yuan Tianyu stood up and chose to team up with Sikong Ma. When Sikong Ma saw Yuan Tianyu, his eyes immediately lit up. "Welcome, Junior Brother Yuan." Junior Brother Yuan is the #1 genius of the core hall. With Junior Brother Yuan joining us, our team will be like a tiger that has grown wings. "You flatter me, you flatter me." After being flattered, Yuan Tianyu felt very satisfied. They looked at each other and could see many things from each other's eyes, but most of them were smiles of collusion. In the end, it was for themselves. As leaders, after getting the tokens, they would decide how to distribute them. By then, the others would just be their fighters, and it would be a great advantage. Yi Tianyun glanced over there and didn't bother to pay any attention to them. Then, they began to divide into groups. They were divided into several teams with their seniors as the leaders. It was better to act separately. It was safer to be too concentrated, but the speed of collecting tokens would be much slower. It didn't take long. 3 days later, suddenly, a light flashed on the ground. The executor appeared in front of them, glanced at them, and said, "Line up one by one to get your tokens." Everyone was excited and quickly began to line up to get their tokens. Yi Tianyun also stood up to get his token. After getting all the tokens, the executor didn't say anything and disappeared. After getting his token, Yi Tianyun carefully looked at the situation on it. The word Heavenly Mandate was engraved on it, which meant that they belonged to the camp of the Heavenly Mandate realm. Naturally, they were named after this. In the same camp, they could only count their own token. The others in the same camp didn't matter. No matter how many there were, as long as they were in the same camp, they could only be counted as one. However, this didn't make much sense. The more sinister ones could use it to exchange for tokens from other camps. This kind of thing couldn't be stopped. They could only correspondingly slow it down. Buzz. At this time, suddenly, a terrible pressure came from the sky, pressing down from the sky. They felt their bodies sink, and the gravity increased dozens of times. At the same time, a gust of evil chi surged in from outside, stimulating their nerves and filling them with a bit of fighting spirit. This wasn't done on purpose. Rather, it was because this place had been through a long battle, and the baleful aura here was definitely denser. It was just that compared to the god-slaying pagoda, it was a few levels lower. It could only fill them with battle intent and the desire to battle. Not long after, the barrier in front of them disappeared. Then, an even denser baleful aura came from the outside, which meant that the battlefield was open to them. Get out! The eyes of Sikong Ma and the others lit up, and they quickly rushed outside. As the door was very wide, the group immediately rushed out. Yi Tianyun also rushed out. As soon as they got out, they immediately felt that the outside world had changed greatly. The sky was covered by a thick layer of barrier, which meant that they could not fly out of this place. From the looks of it, he could only fly a short distance up into the sky and not out of this place. Apart from that, after the opening of the battlefield, the baleful aura was much denser. The originally ordinary place in front of them had suddenly turned into an azura hell. As soon as they came out, they saw a group of people rushing out of the shrine. They looked at each other and saw the killing intent in each other's eyes. The tokens were all with the other party. As for whether to fight or not, that would depend on the individual. However, the group did not start fighting immediately. It was obviously not wise to start a fight here. After they obtained the tokens, they could read the rules from the tokens. Without the guidance of the seniors, they could obtain the rules of the first stage from the tokens. The rules of the first stage were very simple. To successfully pass it, there were 2 conditions. The first condition was to collect 2 tokens. The second condition was to pass through the danger zone and reach the destination. Therefore, it was useless even if they collected a few hundred tokens. As long as they did not reach the destination, they would not be considered to have passed the test. Because of this, they did not start fighting immediately. At the very least, they had to reach the area at the front, which was not as spacious as this area. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. They all knew this logic. As they needed 2 tokens to be considered to be qualified to advance, it meant that at least half of the participants would be eliminated. Just as Sima Kong and the others had said, more than half of the participants would be eliminated. The reason why it was more than half was because some cultivators obtained more than 1 token. 2 tokens was just a passing grade. If one wanted to be chosen, one had to reach an outstanding standard. Otherwise, it would be meaningless to come here. Yi Tianyun glanced at his opponents. The detailed data immediately appeared in front of him. It had to be said that his opponents were also elites. With a casual glance, there were quite a few 6th refinement Earth monarchs. There were also 7th refinement Earth monarchs. As for 8th refinement Earth monarchs and above, he had never seen them before. The rarity was rather high. Not in a hurry to make a move her. Yi Tianyun smiled and flew forward rapidly. One could obviously fly high in the sky, but very few people would do so. Unless they had absolute confidence, flying high in the sky would only lead to death. If an attack came from below, then flying high in the sky would be like a live target. It would be hard not to die. Very quickly, he disappeared into the forest. When he stepped into the forest, he immediately felt a chill coming from all directions. Without a doubt, this forest was dangerous. Not only did he have to be wary of his opponents, but he also had to be wary of the dangers here. Swish, swish, swish. All of a sudden, countless spikes pierced up from the ground. Yi Tianyun's figure flashed and dodged to the side. Following that, he stomped on the ground forcefully. Dong! A giant demonic beast was jolted out by him. Its entire body was covered with spikes, just like an incomparably giant hedgehog. Squeak, squeak, squeak. This giant hedgehog squeaked and squatted towards Yi Tianyun. Countless spikes on its back shot over, and each one of them had terrifying power. This demonic beast that appeared had a 2nd refinement Earth monarch cultivation. It wasn't an ordinary demonic beast. He didn't expect to encounter a 2nd refinement Earth monarch demonic beast right after he entered. This was truly a dangerous place for demonic beasts. Yi Tianyun's figure flashed and appeared in the air above the giant hedgehog. He completely ignored the spikes on its back and pressed down heavily. Heaven-trembling art. Over 50 billion kilograms of force pressed down, flattening this giant hedgehog and pressing it into the depths of the soil. However, this foot didn't flatten it. Instead, It was stomped until it couldn't move. It just so happens that someone is here to lead the way. Capture it for me. Yi Tianyun aimed at it and used the capture technique, wanting to capture a demonic beast to lead the way. Especially those that liked to drill into the ground, they were undoubtedly more suitable to lead the way. Squeak, squeak, squeak. This hedgehog struggled and resisted Yi Tianyun's capture. You still want to resist my capture? Yi Tianyun sneered and pressed his body down again. The body of the hedgehog started to sink in. If this continued, the hedgehog would definitely be trampled into a meat patty. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The hedgehog started to scream. The intense pain made it not dare to resist anymore. Very good. Continue to capture. When Yi Tianyun tried again, the hedgehog no longer resisted and was easily kept in the pet space, becoming one of his pets. Ding. Successfully captured a giant hedgehog. Obtained 30 billion experience points. Pet capture skill proficiency, 10,000 point. Chapter 990. For others, these demonic beasts were a nightmare. For Yi Tianyun, it was a benefit. Capturing a demonic beast could not only lead the way, but it could also serve as a companion, which was much more convenient than working with others. Easily capturing an Earth-level demonic beast. It's too fast to increase my strength. Yi Tianyun smiled. The demonic beasts in the three realms before had relatively low cultivation. If he brought them to level up, it would consume a lot of time. Now was the best time to capture them directly. It was ready-made here, so he didn't need to cultivate. It's really not safe here. No wonder it needs to be at least an Earth-level cultivator. If it's too low, you'll be killed immediately. Yi Tianyun shook his head. After the heavenly battle of the divine realm, those who could survive were considered to be relatively capable. Of course, this referred to those who couldn't reach the target, not those who ran away. Throwing the token would send them back automatically. This was undoubtedly the safest way. At this time, there was a scream from the side. There was no doubt that someone had been attacked by a demonic beast. As for whether he was dead or not, it was unclear. Yi Tianyun didn't pay too much attention to it. He signaled his pet to lead the way and pass through this place first. Not long after he moved forward, he immediately felt fluctuations around him. He quickly put away his pet. The next moment, a group of 6 people rushed over from the side. This number was a good choice for a small team. When they saw Yi Tianyun, they were stunned at first. Then Chen Hao, who was the leader, grinned and said, "So it's people from the heavenly mandate realm. I didn't expect to see someone alone at the beginning. Boss, it seems that we'll be able to earn a token soon. I don't know if this kid is stupid, but he actually fell behind. Hasn't the heavenly mandate realm always been like this? In the past, they were at the bottom. This year will be no exception." When they saw Yi Tianyun, they all looked at him with contempt. They felt that Yi Tianyun was a piece of meat on the chopping board, easily obtainable. "Little brat, are you willing to throw away the token and surrender, or choose to resist?" Chen Hao smiled faintly. His men surrounded Yi Tianyun, not wanting to let Yi Tianyun escape. Hearing this, Yi Tianyun grinned and said, "I didn't expect you to be here to give me a token. In that case, I'll accept it. You're courting death." Chen Hao's face sank. A cold light flashed in his hand, and a long saber appeared in his hand. His silhouette flickered, and he turned into an arc of light as he slashed towards Chen Hao's head. One-hit kill. Yi Tianyun took a step forward, and simply used his body to collide with the wall. Boom. Chen Hao was sent flying. He smashed through several giant trees, and no longer had any signs of life. Ding. Successfully killed Chen Hao. Reward, 370 billion EXP, 10 million crazy points, 500,000 SPS. After activating crazy experience mode, experience and the like surged in like crazy, but these were just appetizers. Boss Chen. Their faces paled. They hadn't expected that their boss would be dealt with so easily. They could feel that Chen Hao wasn't breathing at all. It was obvious that he was dead. The remaining 5 people looked at Yi Tianyun, their eyes widened, and their feet couldn't help but tremble. Yi Tianyun and Yi Tianyun are not at the same level at all. Now it's your turn. As soon as Yi Tianyun's voice fell, he didn't hesitate to rush forward with his powerful physique. His dragon god bloodline has been upgraded to such a high level that his physique is almost invincible. Dong! 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 3 people were sent flying by Yi Tianyun, and just like Chen Hao, they were completely dead. The remaining 2 people trembled, and their legs went soft. They knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. "Sir, please let us go. You have already killed several of our companions. As long as you collect 2 tokens, you will be able to pass this trial. You won't get any reward if you collect more tokens." They didn't want to throw away the token and surrender. It was the same as giving up this trial. They just started, and they had to leave. How could they be willing? They wanted to show off their skills here, but they didn't expect to kick an iron plate, and it was a very hard one. Buzz! At this moment, the tokens in their arms lit up, and a message flowed into their minds. Those who collect 15 tokens, after the end of the first trial, will be rewarded with a mid-grade reincarnation rank martial art. Those who collect 30 tokens will be rewarded with a mid-grade reincarnation rank weapon. Those who collect 60 tokens will be rewarded with a high-grade reincarnation rank martial art. Those who collect 90 tokens will be rewarded with a high-grade reincarnation rank weapon. When this message was transmitted, the expressions of the 2 people who were begging for mercy froze. This meant that there was no point in begging for mercy. 2 tokens would allow them to pass, but if they wanted the reward, they would have to go on a killing spree. We are willing to help you collect tokens. We can be your helpers, you just need to give us 1 token. The 2 of them crawled towards Yi Tianyun on their knees, their eyes were filled with pleading intent. Yi Tianyun looked at them indifferently, and just as he was about to say something, the 2 of them suddenly jumped up, and 2 daggers appeared in their hands. Without hesitation, they attacked his vitals. Scram! Yi Tianyun swung his leg, and the 2 of them were sent flying. After smashing through a few trees, they no longer had any signs of life, and couldn't be more dead. I knew that you guys didn't have good intentions, but even if there is no reward, when you decided to attack me, your fate was already decided. Yi Tianyun extended his hand, and the tokens on their corpses were sucked over. At the same time, their storage rings were taken over. He wanted to nurture a faction, and resources must not be lacking. When the tokens on their bodies disappeared, all of them disappeared and were teleported back to their original temple. But what they were teleported back were corpses, not alive. Yi Tianyun glanced around, and didn't pay any attention to them. He lifted his foot and walked forward. When he left, a few shocked gazes flickered in the corner of the forest. They originally wanted to be the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Who knew that when they saw Yi Tianyun's strength, their hearts trembled, and they didn't dare to attack. Yi Tianyun couldn't be bothered with them, and lifted his foot and walked forward. There were many people like this on the way, and he didn't need to worry about the tokens. As expected, groups after groups of people appeared on the road, and they all wanted to snatch his tokens. In the end, they were all instantly killed by him. Chapter 991. This is already the 5th batch. Yi Tianyun looked at the more than 30 badges in his pocket. He didn't even purposely collect them, yet more than 30 had already come to him. Being alone had its advantages and disadvantages. The advantage was that it could attract cultivators to hunt him down. There was no need to search for them, and there was no need to distribute them. The disadvantage was that he didn't know how many people would come. It would be troublesome if dozens of them came. Of course, Yi Tianyun wasn't worried at all. Others might be a bit more worried and wished for more opponents so that he wouldn't have to search for them. At the same time, in another area of the God War continent, there was a huge arena. In this martial arts arena, a large group of people sat around. Nyan Tsiyu, Yu Yanglong, and the other elders were among them. There was even a domain lord. They were all sitting in a certain area. Apart from them, there were many experts from other divine realms sitting on the side. Now, they were all looking up into the sky. There was a ranking in the sky, and the number of medallions each person had would be displayed. First place, Heavenly Pillar and Earthly Lord, 278 badges. Second place, Cloud Thunder Lord, 170 badges. Third place, they were listed one by one. These were all their names. As for Yi Tianyun, he was called Heavenly Cloud Earthly Lord. Everyone's names were displayed on the huge projection in the sky. If one gave up, their name would disappear. On the other hand, if they obtained a lot of badges, their ranking would keep rising. The elders were looking for their disciples' names. If their names appeared in the top 100, they would jump up in excitement. This was a chance to show off. How could they let go of this chance? Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao's rankings are quite low, they only have a few badges. They quickly found Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao's names. However, their rankings weren't high, they were at the bottom. On the contrary, Yuan Tianyu's ranking was slightly higher, so he was able to occupy a good position. Yuan Tianyu's results aren't bad. He has more than a dozen badges, and that's Sima Kong too. They were surprised by the newcomers. They didn't expect that the first ones to have good results were not Yi Tianyun or Murong Xiao, but Sima Kong's group. Wait, some of our people are missing. They've been eliminated. Yu Yanglong quickly saw how many of their disciples were missing. Did they get ambushed? They couldn't see what was happening inside and could only see the rankings. Sima Kong's group was very likely to fight someone, so they would suffer great losses. Since they were the leaders, the tokens would be with them. Naturally, they would be at the front. Tianyu Region Lord, I heard that you have a good foreign aid this time, but it doesn't seem to be in the top ranks. The Region Lord of the 9 regions smiled. It seemed like a normal question, but in fact, it was a slap in the face. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord narrowed his eyes. There was no doubt that Yi Futian had inquired about him and knew that he had hired external help. Murong Xiao was a foreign aide. He had a good reputation in the first-grade sacred realm and was considered an independent force. Thank you for your concern. It's just the beginning. We'll see later, the Domain Lord retorted. It was just the beginning, and there was no need to rush. That's true, but if the beginning is not smooth, it will be difficult later. The Domain Lord of the 9 regions was full of pride. Some of their subordinates had more than 30 badges, which was more than 20 more than the Heavenly Mandate realm. No wonder they were so arrogant. Usually, the relationship between the two families was not so good. Now, it was as if they had eaten gunpowder and started to fight. That's right. The Heavenly Mandate realm's ranking was always at the bottom. I don't know if it's any better this time. If it doesn't, it will be difficult in the future, the Domain Lord of the Fire Jade Sacred Realm said. He was obviously on the same side as the Domain Lord of the 9 regions. The Domain Lord didn't look good. He was continuously criticized, but he couldn't refute. What could he do? Looking at the first place, there were more than 200 badges. They weren't at the same level at all. Thinking about it, that level was too incredible. He must be a super genius. As for the god realms with such geniuses, they were very calm on the side. They were very satisfied with the results of their disciples. In short, it was just the beginning, and they were both happy and worried. Only a few domain lords of the god realms smiled. Collecting the badges was based on the premise that the other side failed. Some people were happy, and some were depressed. The Heavenly Mandate realm was obviously one of them. They had invited foreign aid, but it seemed that the beginning was not smooth. He talked about the beginning, which was a bit hard to admit. It was obvious that the top 10 had more than 100 badges. It was just a matter of strength, and it had nothing to do with the beginning. We have always been steady. After a while, we will definitely be able to rush up. After all, we still have a lot of time, right? Nyan Tsiyu said. If someone wanted to step on the Heavenly Mandate realm, she wouldn't let it happen. Oh, then let's wait and see. The Domain Lord of the 9 region showed a sarcastic smile. This kind of scene had happened a long time ago. In the end, the Heavenly Mandate realm still lost all the way. Nyan Tsiyu's eyes flashed. She stared at the situation on Yi Tianyun's side. She could only hope that Yi Tianyun would really break out. She believed that Yi Tianyun would definitely be able to break out, but she didn't know when he would do it. The Heavenly Mandate realm depends on you. Nyan Tsiyu bit her lip. She had been suppressing her hope, and it could be swept away. As if Yi Tianyun heard her hope, the number suddenly began to change, jumping up continuously. First, it started from 6 badges, and then it jumped up. 11, 15, 21, 27, 45, 56. The number seemed to be crazy, jumping up continuously. It scared Nyan Tsiu so much that she stood up. Elder Nyan, what's wrong? The Heavenly Mandate Realm Lord asked. Quick, look. Nyan Tsiu pointed at Yi Tianyun's name that kept jumping up, and her face was flushed with excitement. The domain lords of the 9 region couldn't help but look over. They found that the names of the participants representing the Heavenly Mandate Realm were jumping up rapidly. From the original level of the bottom, he suddenly rushed to the top 100. Originally, he was tens of thousands of places, but under the rapid rush, he actually made it to the top 100. Although he was still far from the front, he had already made it to the top 100. He immediately slapped the domain lords of the 9 region in the face. This isn't the external help. They all stood up in shock. They all knew the name of the external help. It was called Murong Xiao. Now, the number of badges Murong Xiao had increased, but it was at most a dozen. However, Yi Tianyun seemed to be on drugs, crazily rushing up. No matter what the situation was, the elders of the Heavenly Mandate Realm were all excited, as if they had seen hope. Chapter 992. Yi Tianyun didn't know what was happening outside, let alone his own situation. He had fought for the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Region. He didn't deliberately search for the tokens and just kept moving forward. He would kill anyone who stood in his way without showing any mercy. Showing mercy here would be courting death. He had already tried this a long time ago. As long as the opponent didn't throw out the tokens, it was useless no matter what he said. He was strong, but the other party could definitely throw the token away before he could reach them. However, they didn't do so. Without a doubt, they didn't want to surrender and were plotting something in their minds. Therefore, there were people who didn't have eyes and kept charging at him. The tokens naturally came flying out, thinking that he had fallen behind. Even if they thought he was alone, they all thought he was an idiot. Being overconfident would only lead to death. However, Yi Tianyun belonged to the very confident and powerful type. It wouldn't be difficult for him to crush them. Batch after batch, the experience gained is quite a lot. Yi Tianyun was very satisfied. If this continued, he wouldn't have any problem breaking through to the 7th refining Earth Lord level. The problem was that there wasn't a place for him to undergo the heavenly tribulation. If he did so casually, these people would definitely sneak up on him. He continued to kill his way forward. His mind wasn't on the tokens at the moment. He just kept moving forward. He was heading to his destination. The road was still quite far, so he could kill slowly along the way without being in a hurry. As for the ranking, he didn't care at all. The biggest benefit of obtaining the most tokens in the first round was the extra reward. The disciples wouldn't be selected immediately. Unless they were extremely heaven-defying, such as those who obtained tens of thousands of tokens, they would be selected immediately. Of course, killing tens of thousands of participants would be too much. The Godly War continent wasn't small and was scattered everywhere. Therefore, it was still difficult to obtain so many tokens. Girl, I didn't expect you to be so good at fighting. Let's see how you can fight this time. You guys dare to use poison. A familiar voice came from the side and attracted Yi Tianyun's attention. Originally, he didn't want to get involved in any disputes, but the voice that came to him was Murong Xiao's voice. He frowned, but still chose to walk over. Murong Xiao was a little stubborn, but other than that, there didn't seem to be much of a problem. Since they were from the same sect, he decided to go over and help them. Who knew what these fellows would do? When he passed a section of the road, he immediately saw that Murong Xiao's face had turned black. If he didn't look carefully, he wouldn't have noticed that there was a sharp thorn on her body. Who would have thought that a tiny spike would cause a 7th refinement Earth Monarch's battle prowess to plummet? From the looks of it, not to mention fighting, he couldn't even escape. Jade River Divine Poison. If used in large quantities, it can greatly weaken the opponent's battle prowess, ultimately paralyzing the opponent's body and rendering them unable to move. Jade River Divine Poison. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes. This was a rare poison. It seemed like Murong Xiao had forced him into a corner. Otherwise, He wouldn't have used this. So what if he used poison? Do we still need to follow the rules here? I didn't expect you to be such an idiot. Surrender just because we said so? Hehe, I'll give you two choices. Either throw away the token and scram, or don't blame us for being impolite. The leading man was a 6th refinement Earth monarch. Although his cultivation wasn't as high as Murong Xiao's, he used a little trick to trick her. He rubbed his palms and sized up Murong Xiao. He licked his lips and said, "I've never tried a girl with such a high cultivation. Flirting with the clouds and rain in the godly war continent is quite interesting." The others roared with laughter. If Murong Xiao didn't throw away the token, then she would be completely paralyzed. At that time, she would be at their mercy and wouldn't be able to move. Murong Xiao's eyes were cold. She held her rapier and coldly said, "You want me to surrender? Impossible." She was still as stubborn as before. It was impossible for her to surrender, especially since she had just started. She didn't want to lose right away. Her clan had placed a lot of hope on her by letting her participate in this tournament. If she couldn't even pass the first round, then it would be extremely embarrassing. "Is that so? Then come and kill us. Come here." They laughed shamelessly at Murong Xiao. They didn't have any intention to attack at all. They just wanted Murong Xiao to attack. Because the more she attacked, the faster the poison would circulate in her body. At that time, she would naturally be paralyzed even faster. Once her body was paralyzed, she would be at the mercy of others. "Die!" Murong Xiao shouted and turned into a ray of cold light. Even though she was poisoned, she still unleashed an extraordinary stab. This stab caused their expressions to darken. They quickly dodged to the side, not daring to come into contact with the sharp edge. "Attack this way." After dodging, they laughed at Murong Xiao again, purposely attracting Murong Xiao's attack. Suddenly, a green light appeared in Murong Xiao's eyes. In the next moment, countless vines shot up from the ground and entangled several cultivators in front of him. What's going on? The sudden change scared them, especially those who were firmly controlled by the vines and couldn't move at all. When they wanted to break free, a cold light had already pierced through their chests. Following that, a green light bloomed and quickly drained the life force in their bodies. In the blink of an eye, the cultivator became shriveled and looked very horrifying. After a while, the cultivator was dying and didn't seem to have any combat power. When Murong Xiao killed people, she was not careless at all. She was full of murderous intent. Immediately, she stabbed another cultivator. With a puff sound, she easily penetrated the body of the other cultivator. Like the previous one, he was sucked dry in the blink of an eye. "Quick, stop her." The cultivators who had not been entangled were terrified and immediately charged towards Murong Xiao to attack her. At this time, Murong Xiao quickly counterattacked. Dang! Murong Xiao was pushed back by the impact. He staggered and fell to the ground. His face turned even darker. Even if she had an amazing divine wood body, she couldn't detoxify this poison in a short time. It was quite amazing that she could still burst out such amazing power. Damn it! This time we finally subdued her. She killed 2 of our brothers. This woman is really powerful. One of the men was immediately angry and wanted to stab Murong Xiao with his sword. Murong Xiao bit her lips and wanted to take out the token from her arms and throw it. Suddenly, a figure flew over and kicked the man away. He smashed into a giant tree on the side and turned into a pile of soft mud. Chapter 993. That's right, it's me. Yi Tianyun continued to kick to the side and easily finished off the other cultivators. He finished them all with one kick and definitely didn't need a second kick. After finishing them off, he came in front of Murong Xiao and said with a smile, "I didn't expect you to have this moment. You actually fell for their trap." As he spoke, he kept the spoils of war. These were all his spoils of war, so he naturally accepted them without hesitation. "None of your business." Murong Xiao snorted and didn't buy it. "None of my business? I don't know who all wanted to take out the token to surrender." Yi Tianyun looked at her and said with a faint smile, "If I didn't come out, you would probably have been eliminated. Aren't you going to thank me? I'm your savior, you should at least thank me, right?" Murong Xiao snorted and turned her head to the side. She still didn't seem to appreciate it, but she still said softly, "Thank you." "What? I can't hear what you said at all. Say it again." Of course, Yi Tianyun could hear it. Even if her voice was dozens of times softer, he would still be able to hear it. However, her voice was indeed too soft and didn't have the slightest intention of apologizing. "Thank you, you can do it," Murong Xiao shouted at him. "Yes." Yi Tianyun shrugged helplessly and said, "It's just that your attitude is a little bad. You have to be more sincere when you thank me. Forget it, let me help you detoxify it. If I don't detoxify it, who knows when you will be able to move again. This is the Jade River divine poison. You can detoxify it." Murong Xiao was a little surprised. "I should be able to. Won't you know after trying? Even if you have the divine wood body and can detoxify it yourself, it will still take a long time. At that time, you can forget about taking the test. You will be paralyzed all the way." Yi Tianyun reached out and pulled out a thin needle from her body and threw it to the side. As soon as it landed, the thin needle sank into the ground. Soon, the ground turned black. It was enough to show how terrifying the poison was. This poison is truly frightening. If it was someone else, how could they resist? They would be dead for sure. Yi Tianyun shook his head. It might seem like an earth monarch was very powerful, but there were still terrifying poisons that could kill people. The body of divine wood isn't that lucky. Her eyes were a little dim, and she didn't know what she had gone through. Yi Tianyun looked at her expression and didn't continue the topic. He reached out his hand and released the hell-devouring flame, aiming at her injury. This flame quickly refined the toxins in her body. Although she had a divine wood body and was very sensitive to fire, it did not matter if it was a yin fire type. "Dark devouring flame," she exclaimed. This was a pretty good demon flame. She didn't expect Yi Tianyun to have such a trick up his sleeve. Yi Tianyun continued to help her refine the toxins in her body. His speed wasn't considered fast, but it wasn't slow either. This Jade River God poison was quite astonishing. If it was so easy to cure, Murong Xiao wouldn't be trapped here. Ordinary poisons couldn't harm her at all. The Jade River God poison was more powerful, which was why it caused such a situation. Of course, as her cultivation increased, there wouldn't be any problems. Any Jade River God poison would be useless. The divine wood body wasn't a joke. It was very resistant to poison. The Jade River God poison could be cured by itself. It just needed a bit of time to know how strong it was. If it was any other cultivator, they wouldn't be able to move a long time ago. They might even be poisoned to death. Murong Xiao watched as he seriously detoxified the poison for her. Her beautiful eyes flickered with a complicated gaze. Yi Tianyun didn't even look at her. He took out the long life necklace and started to increase the healing speed. Murong Xiao immediately felt the surging life force, which made her feel incomparably pleasantly surprised. This life force is so dense. What kind of treasure is it? She was shocked. She had never seen a treasure with such dense life force. A family heirloom. Yi Tianyun said casually. Murong Xiao rolled her eyes. Who didn't know that this thing was precious? She just wanted to ask what kind of treasure it was. "Yi, I didn't think that there would be a pair of dog and dog healing here." At this time, a few people who didn't have eyes came out from the forest. When they saw Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao, their eyes revealed pleasant surprise. "You guys can either throw out your tokens or become a pair of lovebirds. Make your choice." Yi Tianyun didn't even turn his head as he continued to heal Murong Xiao. Murong Xiao opened her mouth and wanted to say that there were enemies behind and let him deal with them. Suddenly, a rumble came out from behind. A few huge demonic beasts rushed out from the ground and suppressed them all. Demonic beast. Murong Xiao pointed at the giant porcupines behind Yi Tianyun. She was so shocked that she couldn't speak. She even wanted to jump up and kill them. However, she was pressed to the ground by Yi Tianyun and couldn't move. "Focus on healing," Yi Tianyun said. But Murong Xiao's expression was anxious. She immediately saw these demonic beasts gradually burrowing back into the ground. The original hole in the ground was quickly repaired. Not a single trace could be seen. They would repair the hole themselves. This way, No one would be able to see that they were hiding below. What's going on? Murong Xiao was dumbfounded. She didn't know what was going on. The demonic beasts came out and then left. Most importantly, they didn't even look at them. Instead, they helped them get rid of these trash. Yi Tianyun couldn't be bothered with her and continued to heal. He caught a few demonic beasts along the way. In any case, he caught all the demonic beasts that attacked him. Because of this, he had gained a lot of combat power. They could be good helpers. Now, they were good guards. Under his healing, Murong Xiao gradually regained her mobility. The toxins in her body had not been completely cleared. However, it was almost cleared. Basically, it wasn't a big problem. It's almost done. You should be able to expel the remaining toxins soon. Yi Tianyun stood up and pulled her up at the same time. Thank you. Murong Xiao's voice was very sincere. After she finished speaking, her pretty face slightly blushed. Obviously, she had never said such words before. Now that's the tone of thanks. I'll go first, you can go first. Yi Tianyun said with a smile and turned around to leave. Wait. Murong Xiao stopped him. Is there anything else? Yi Tianyun turned to look at her. Can I team up with you? Don't worry. I definitely won't take your token. Murong Xiao looked at him and said. Yi Tianyun looked at her from head to toe. Did this girl's personality change? Alright, then come with me. Anyway, it doesn't matter if we team up. What belongs to you is still yours. In any case, it belongs to whoever solved it. Yi Tianyun didn't want to fight for anything. After all, the rewards weren't his goal. Alright. Murong Xiao's heart leaped with joy and she immediately followed him. Soon, they followed the token and came to a key point, Divine Thunder Drum. Chapter 994. The Thunder Drum of Divinity was the name of this area. This was completely guided by the command medallion. Everyone had to pass through this area, and it was considered an examination point. When the two of them appeared, they could feel the cold gazes from all directions. Yi Tianyun looked back fearlessly and saw that many cultivators had already arrived. However, when he entered this area, he felt that he had entered another space. You cannot attack the other party in the Thunder Drum of Divinity area. Violators will be sentenced to death. The message from the token entered his mind. This meant that this was a safe zone. No wonder the other party only looked over and didn't dare to attack him. Boom. As soon as he entered, a loud thunder sound came from the front, resounding through the clouds. A terrifying wave was transmitted from the thunder drum. However, it was just a wave. What was truly terrifying was that after the thunder drum sounded, the sky started to flicker. An incomparably thick divine thunder smashed down and hit the ground. Boom. The ground wasn't blasted open as expected. Instead, the stone slabs on the ground were lit up. The words on the stone slabs were lit up layer by layer. Soon, they stopped at the words 4th grade. Damn it, only 4th grade. The 6th refined Earth Lord sighed and shook his head. Shortly after, a ray of light flashed in the air. 40 tokens fell down and were easily caught by him. Then, he dashed forward and didn't stay here any longer. I can get 60 tokens at the 4th grade level. This is simply a good place to earn tokens. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. The token had just transmitted the rules here. These 10 thunder drums of divinity were all tools for the test. What they needed to do was to throw a punch. The stronger the punch, the stronger the divine thunder. After the divine thunder smashed down, the higher the grade of the steely it hit, the more tokens one would get. 1st grade was the lowest. One would get 5 tokens. 2nd grade would get 15 tokens. 3rd grade would get 30 tokens. 4th grade would get 60 tokens. 5th grade would get 90 tokens. 6th grade would get 150 tokens. 7th grade would get 300 tokens. 8th grade would get 1,000 tokens. 9th grade would get 5,000 tokens. This was simply a godlike increase. At the end, the number would increase by several times. It was really scary. That's right. There are already 60 pieces at the 4th grade. If we continue to go up, we'll definitely be able to fly. Murong Xiao's eyes lit up. She also wanted to get a good result. Right now, she didn't have many tokens, so if she could make a killing here, she would immediately rush up. It was much more profitable than robbing, especially for rank 6 and above. If it reached rank 9, it would be 5,000 buck. Just thinking about it at the rank 9 level was enough. To be able to give out such a terrifying reward, the difficulty must be extremely shocking. Look, that's a super genius from the 9 divine realms. His name is Earth Monarch Sen Shui. He seems to have collected 400 to 500 tokens, and his talent is even more astonishing. Now that I've already reached the 7 refinements Earth Monarch level, I wonder what kind of results I can produce. He's definitely a 4th grade martial artist or above. He's much stronger than the previous one. It was just that the name sounded a little feminine, Snow Forest Earth Lord. He looks like a big guy. If I didn't know better, I would have thought he was a girl. Quite a number of cultivators were resting at the side. This was the best place for them to rest since they couldn't fight here. The name was indeed interesting, Snow Forest Earth Lord. He looked very demonic. His entire body was snow white, and even his hair was white. He exuded a chilly aura from head to toe. It was obvious that he had an ice attribute physique. When looking at him from the side, he did look like a woman. However, he was actually a man, just that his appearance was more feminine. He pinched his thumb and middle finger and flipped in the air. A white snow lotus bloomed in the air, and snowflakes fell rapidly from the surroundings. Netherworld white snow, accompanied by a feminine shout, the white snow lotus collided with the godly thunder drum. When it was about to collide with the godly thunder drum, the snow lotus suddenly turned into an ice phoenix and collided with it. Boom! When the ice phoenix collided with the godly thunder drum, a loud sound was heard. The huge ice phoenix turned into a pile of snowflakes and drifted down, giving everyone a scare. They thought that the godly thunder drum had been pierced through. In reality, it didn't pierce through the godly thunder drum. However, the sound that was transmitted to them seemed to have pierced through the godly thunder drum. Boom! A shockwave immediately shot up into the sky. Following that, a bolt of lightning fell from the sky and smashed on the stone tablet in front of them. Soon, layers of light stacked on top of each other. 1st rank. 2nd rank. 3rd rank. 5th rank. Finally, this terrifying shockwave displayed the power of a 5th rank. Although they did not know how to define it, it was quite amazing to be able to unleash the power of a 5th rank. Immediately, 90 tokens fell into the hands of Earth Lord Sen Shui. Only 5th rank. Earth Lord Sen Shui was dissatisfied. He then continued to try. Everyone had 3 chances. Earth Lord Sen Shui bombarded the tokens again and again. On the 2nd attempt, it was a 6th rank. On the 3rd attempt, it was still a 6th rank. Immediately, he obtained 390 tokens. It was a piece of cake. After obtaining the tokens, Earth Lord Sen Shui floated away. It would be admirable if it was a woman, but it was a man. His beautiful expression was even more attractive than a woman's. The highest is a 6th rank. It's amazing. The 9 territories celestial realm is not bad to be able to nurture such a genius. Chumph, that's nothing. The previous Earth Lord Tian Qing was even more impressive. He directly produced a 8th rank. The first 2 times he produced a 7th rank, and the last time he produced a 8th rank. What a steal. What? Someone actually produced a 8th rank. Of course. Earth Lord Tian Qing was not the only one who produced such a shocking result. There was another one who produced a 8th rank as well. Everyone took a deep breath. They did not expect someone to produce a 8th rank. It was unprecedented. 8th rank. Yi Tianyun looked at the divine thunder drum. Through the appraisal eye, he could tell how much strength was required to produce a 8th rank. Although it did not represent all of the strength, it could at least show a part of the standard. To produce a 8th rank, one would need to be at least at the level of the Lord of Heaven. This meant that these Earth Lords had the power of the Lord of Heaven. No wonder Nyan Ciu said that it would be great if they could make it to the top 10. If they were to unleash their full power, it would be even more unbelievable. Although they could earn a lot of tokens, it was impossible for them to unleash their full power here. It would undoubtedly be equivalent to exposing their strength. Therefore, the real situation would definitely be much stronger than it was now. Come on, let's see how far we can go. Murong Xiao was eager to try. She also wanted to see what level she could reach. Chapter 995. Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao were ready. They walked towards the God's War Thunder Drum. There were 10 God's War Thunder Drums here, and there were always people challenging them. However, compared to the previous ones, they were not outstanding. They were all rank 2 or 3, and the most were rank 4. One could imagine how much weaker they were compared to the previous ones. Especially when they used all their strength, they still had such ordinary results. It could only be said that it would be extremely difficult for them to enter the top 100. Miss Mu. At this time, a familiar voice came from the side. Yi Tianyun turned his head. If it was not Yuan Tianyu, who else could it be? Not only Yuan Tianyu, but Sima Kong was also here. Originally, they could have come earlier. However, they helped Murong Xiao treat her injuries on the way, which delayed their journey. Otherwise, he would have been here long ago, and they would not have arrived first. When Yuan Tianyu saw Yi Tianyun beside her, his face sank. He did not expect that Yi Tianyun would be with Murong Xiao. So it's you. Murong Xiao looked at them indifferently. It seems that you are here early. It's just that there are fewer people compared to before. Yuan Tianyu's team had indeed lost a lot of people. Basically, more than half of them were gone. This made Sima Kong and the others feel very embarrassed. They had indeed lost a lot of people. We encountered many strong enemies along the way. It's normal to have losses. Most of us made it through. Yuan Tianyu explained for them. What does that have to do with me? Murong Xiao replied indifferently. She turned her head to Yi Tianyun and said, "Let's go. Let's try the God's War Thunder Drum and see what grade it can reach." She spoke to Yi Tianyun with enthusiasm. She was not as cold as she was to Yuan Tianyu. Okay. Yi Tianyun was also too lazy to look at Yuan Tianyu and the others. He lifted his foot and walked forward. What's going on? Why did their relationship suddenly become better? Yuan Tianyu clenched his fists tightly. Previously, they were clearly not together, which made him secretly happy. Who would have thought that not long after, the two of them would stay together and have a good relationship? Junior brother Yuan, isn't this your chance to shine? You have made some progress in your cultivation these past few days. The Divine Battle Thunder Drum is the best opportunity for you to perform. Sikong Ma gestured for Yuan Tianyu to try the Thunder Drum of God's Battle. Winning the heart of a beauty with true strength was the simplest and most brutal way. That's true. Yuan Tianyu looked up to the sky and let out a long roar. He stomped on the ground and pounced towards the God Battle Thunder Drum. He turned into a bolt of lightning and streaked across the sky. A huge thunder dragon roared behind him as if it had really turned into a real dragon. In fact, he had the bloodline of the Dragon Clan, so his talent was naturally not bad. Such a shocking performance attracted the attention of many. The power of the sixth refinement Earthly Lord was fully released. Thunder Dragon Roar. Yuan Tianyu threw a heavy punch. With a dong sound, the Divine Battle Thunder Drum rumbled. Rings of energy fluctuations began to surge into the sky. Soon, a bolt of lightning fell from the sky and began to light up the words on the stone tablet. Soon, the first and second grades rose and finally stopped at the 5th grade level. He had perfectly obtained 90 tokens. It was quite a good result. Compared to the one that Yi Tianyun saw at the beginning, it was a level stronger. The cultivation was the same, but the power was completely different. This was only the first punch. It might even reach the 6th grade level later on. Landing from the sky, Yuan Tianyu was quite satisfied with his punch. He looked towards Murong Xiao to see if Murong Xiao was attracted by him. The 5th grade level is not bad. Yi Tianyun nodded and looked at Yuan Tianyu in a new light. It was not that the power was very strong, but for Yuan Tianyu to be able to display such power in such a situation, he was quite capable. You call this not bad? You can't even squeeze into the top 100, right? It's just average, right? Murong Xiao's poisonous tongue was displayed again. She did not show any mercy to Yuan Tianyu. Yuan Tianyu was a little annoyed. His punch was not bad, but it was only average. Miss Mu, I wonder if you can give me some advice. He had been scolded, and now he was finally angry. He thought that he could get the favor of the beauty, but who knew that he would be scolded instead? Yi Tianyun shook his head. It seemed that Yuan Tianyu was driven crazy. Just watch. Murong Xiao sneered. She stepped on the ground and leaped high. In an instant, a giant tree appeared behind her. The dense branches and leaves covered the sky. Then, like a giant tree that crashed into the bronze bell, she charged forward fiercely. Dong! A deafening sound was heard. The entire divine battle thunder drum shook and almost moved back. Then, a bolt of lightning fell from the sky and smashed into the ground. Then, the number on it lit up, and finally stopped at the 6th grade level. Soon, 150 tokens were easily obtained. It directly crushed Yuan Tianyu's punch. How do you feel? Murong Xiao looked at Yuan Tianyu and smiled. I know your intention. If you want to chase after me, you have to at least be stronger than me. Do you understand? These words were quite straightforward. Murong Xiao was not a fool. She could see that Yuan Tianyu wanted to chase after her. If he could not even beat her, what was the point of chasing after her? Yuan Tianyu's expression was ugly. Then, he roared and continued to smash the divine battle thunder drum. However, no matter how hard he smashed, it was still at the 5th grade level. He could not reach the 6th grade level. Unless he burned his blood essence or something. However, burning his blood essence here was obviously not rational. In the end, the last 3 attempts all ended at the 5th grade. The number of tokens obtained was still considerable. However, he still could not surpass Murong Xiao's results. He could only stay behind. 3 attempts, and you can't even surpass me once. Murong Xiao laughed softly. Then, under everyone's gaze, she smashed down heavily. With a boom, it finally reached the 7th grade level. It actually had the power of a 7th grade. Murong Xiao's potential was not to be underestimated. Yuan Tianyu's face was pale. He thought that his strength could catch up with Murong Xiao. Now, it seemed that he was wrong. He could not catch up at all. Then, Murong Xiao smashed down heavily again. The 3rd time, it fell to the 6th grade. However, it was not bad. She obtained 600 tokens and left Yuan Tianyu far behind. The poison is not completely cleaned. Are there any restrictions? Yi Tianyun walked over and asked. A little. Murong Xiao's face was pale. Her performance was not good because the poison was acting up a little. Of course, it could not continue if it was not completely cleaned. Then rest well. When the poison is removed, we will act again. Yi Tianyun said. Chapter 996. Yi Tianyun smiled and looked up at the thunder drum of God. Should he use his full strength, or should he just perform normally? When he was about to give it a try, a harsh voice came from the side. Is this the strength of the heavenly mandate realm? It still feels ordinary. Speaking of which, Murong Xiao has made some progress, but he still has a long way to go. At this time, a beautiful girl walked over. She wore a blue dress, and her long skirt fluttered in the wind. She was about the same age as Murong Xiao, and the two obviously knew each other. There were many cultivators behind her. They should be from the same sect as her, or they were her supporters. They all looked at her with fanatical eyes. So it's you, Qingling. I was wondering who it was. You still haven't changed your arrogance. Murong Xiao's words were sarcastic, and she felt extremely disdainful of her. Miss you, long time no see. Yuan Tianyu hurried over to greet her, his eyes flashing with surprise. That's right, senior brother Yuan, long time no see. Your performance just now was not bad. Compared to before, you have improved a lot. Yu Qingling's phoenix eyes revealed a look of pleasant surprise. It seemed that she was interested in Yuan Tianyu. It's just so. I haven't used my full strength yet. Yuan Tianyu scratched his head in embarrassment, feeling like he was bathing in a cool breeze. Then Yu Qingling looked at Yi Tianyun, looked him up and down, and said with a smile, Murong Xiao, your taste is really bad. You want this kind of man? He doesn't look very powerful. Did the Mu clan allow you two to be together? Yu Qingling, clean your mouth for me. He is not my man, He is my friend. Murong Xiao immediately retorted, but her pretty face was a little red. Why are you in such a hurry to refute? But it is rare to see our Miss Mu with a man. There must be something fishy. Yu Qingling smiled and said, he just looks a little bad. I really feel sorry for young Master Ling. She gave up young Master Ling's pursuit and went with this unknown boy. Don't worry, he's 100 times better than that young Master Ling. Just his character alone is many times better than that young Master Ling, Murong Xiao said sarcastically. Yi Tianyun rubbed his nose. His luck was indeed pretty good. He could see the general situation now, which was that the relationship between the two clans was not very good. The other party represented the Fire Jade Divine Realm. He believed that, like the Heavenly Mandate Divine Realm, they were both external reinforcements. Yu Qingling's cultivation was similar to Murong Xiao's. They were both at the 7th Refinement Earth Monarch Realm, but in terms of overall strength, there wasn't much to see. Oh, so outstanding? Yu Qingling sneered. In my opinion, being able to reach the 5th grade is already the most he can do. How is this not bad? Young Master Ling has already come here before and easily obtained a rank 7. If he unleashes a little more power, even a rank 8 won't be a problem. It was very obvious that Yu Qingling was on young Master Ling's side. She probably had a good impression of young Master Ling, but young Master Ling ignored her and only wanted to pursue Murong Xiao. 7th grade? Murong Xiao covered her mouth and chuckled. He can reach the 8th grade. Young Master Ling isn't even worth a strand of his hair. Yi Tianyun gasped at the side. Wasn't this attracting hatred for him? He couldn't help but pat Murong Xiao's head and stare at her. What are you talking about? Are you trying to cause trouble for me? Murong Xiao covered her head and looked at him pitifully. Big brother Tianyun, can you help me? Help me. After this is over, I will definitely repay you well. Yi Tianyun rolled his eyes at her. He didn't accept this kind of request at all. Oh, how arrogant. You're not even worth a strand of his hair. Yu Qingling looked at Yi Tianyun and sneered. You can reach the 8th grade? Then show me. Murong Xiao, your taste is really getting worse. The human race is so trash, and his from an ordinary god realm. I really feel embarrassed for you. In my opinion, he's not even worth a strand of young Master Ling's hair. Yi Tianyun looked at her and said indifferently, I don't care how the two of you fight. But isn't it too boring for you to bring up the human race? Did I say anything wrong? Yu Qingling spread her hands and looked at him with a disdainful smile. The human race has always been at the bottom of the hierarchy. If they continue to reproduce with our bloodline, what future will their descendants have? Yu Qingling, shut up. Murong Xiao sneered. Don't think that you're very noble. The human race is at the bottom, but they've never given up. Oh, just because your mother is a human, you're so supportive of the human race? To be honest, if you hadn't inherited your father's bloodline, do you think you would have such talent today? Yu Qingling pointed out some things. Murong Xiao trembled with anger. Just as she was about to say something, Yi Tianyun reached out and pressed down on her little head. Sometimes, don't be so cheap with your mouth. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died, Yi Tianyun said indifferently. Are you threatening me? With just you? Yu Qingling was not afraid at all. She was not weak herself, and she had a group of people behind her. I don't care what grudges there are between the two of you, but you'll soon find that you're not even as good as the human race. A pile of trash. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Tianyun turned around and rushed towards the Divine War Thunder Drum. Who are you calling trash? Yu Qingling shouted coldly. However, Yi Tianyun had already rushed out and ignored her. Dragon God Bloodline, activate. Heaven-shaking Divine Art, activate. Phoenix Bloodline, activate. Ancient Set, activate. He activated it layer by layer. As he madly rushed forward, each step left a deep footprint on the ground. Just as he was about to rush under the Divine War Thunder Drum, he stomped on the ground with all his might and flew up like a bomb. He quickly turned around in the air and kicked the Divine War Thunder Drum. Boom! This loud sound seemed to resound through the 9 heavens. Immediately after, the Divine War Thunder Drum let out a crack sound and caved in. The huge divine war thunder drum actually retreated a little. Kaboom! A huge bolt of lightning struck down from the sky and landed heavily on the stone tablet. The words on the tablet began to appear layer by layer, and finally stopped at the 8th grade. With just one kick, it had the power of an 8th grade. Everyone was shocked. This was not the end. Yi Tianyun, in the air, quickly turned around and kicked again. This time, the strength was even more terrifying than before. Boom! The divine war thunder drum moved half a step back again, and a huge bolt of lightning struck down from the sky again. It was still the 8th grade, but it was already at the limit of the 8th grade. It was only a little bit away from the 9th grade. Open for me! Yi Tianyun roared. His right foot instantly turned into a huge meteorite. With the support of the planet energy in his body, he was now like a planet, smashing down heavily. Boom! The divine war thunder drum was kicked back another meter. The sky was filled with terrifying lightning, and after a while, it fell from the sky. Kaboom! Chapter 997. The sound waves transmitted by the thunder drum of God's war were layered, striking hard on everyone's mind. They felt like a huge rock was pressing on their chests. Under this impact, many people could not help but take a few steps back. If they were hit by this force, they would probably be seriously injured even if they did not die. However, no one cared about this. They were all staring at the stone tablet that was emitting a dazzling light. Rank 9. Rank 9. This was an unbelievable level. It meant that they could enjoy the highest honor, obtain the strongest proof, and even obtain the highest reward, 5,000 tokens. 5,000 tokens far exceeded the level of a rank 8. It could be said that they were not even on the same level. Now, it was obtained by Yi Tianyun, a human. Just like what he said before, those who looked down on humans were now worse than humans. They had always said that humans were trash. Then, what would they be called when they were worse than humans? They were undoubtedly the trash among the trash. 9, rank 9. When the group of people saw the number on the stone tablet, they rubbed their eyes hard. They could not believe the situation in front of them. It was actually rank 9. A value that no one dared to imagine was now presented in front of them. When Murong Xiao came back to her senses, she waved her arms excitedly and said in surprise, "Brother Tianyun, you're amazing." She was dancing with joy. She was very happy with Yi Tianyun's performance, which was beyond her expectations. Initially, she thought that it would be enough for Yi Tianyun to reach rank 8. Who knew that a rank 9 would appear out of nowhere? Among so many contestants, no one could reach rank 9. Yu Qingling's expression changed instantly. She did not expect Yi Tianyun to reach rank 9. This result was really crushing young Master Ling compared to him. Young Master Ling was really a hair's breadth. Yi Tianyun slowly descended from the sky and kicked 3 times in a row. He felt quite good. This wasn't even his full strength. He was only using his current state, and he hadn't even used his crazy damage mode yet. Ding! A ray of light flashed in the sky, followed by a pile of tokens falling from the sky. He easily collected them into his pocket. 2 rank 8 and 1 rank 9. He immediately collected 7,000 tokens. Just thinking about it made him feel scared. If he focused on robbing, he would have to defeat at least 7,000 people to obtain that much. If they could easily obtain it here, they would definitely be able to kill a large group of contestants. After Yi Tianyun put away the token, he turned to look at Yu Qingling and saw a group of dumbfounded expressions. Yuan Tianyu couldn't even close his mouth. He had thought that he would be able to get close to Yi Tianyun, but now it seemed like he was overthinking. The two of them were not even on the same level. Being able to reach the 6th stage was already something to be proud of. Compared to Yi Tianyun's 9th level, his 6th level is really not enough, it is simply garbage. From this comparison, one could tell that a 6th pin fighter would get 150 pieces at most, while a 9th pin fighter like Yi Tianyun would get 5,000 pieces. This was a difference of dozens of times, which was hard to make up for. Yi Tianyun couldn't be bothered with them. He looked at Murong Xiao and said indifferently, "Let's go." Wait a moment." Yu Qingling hurriedly called out to him. When Yi Tianyun turned his head to look at her, he saw that her beautiful eyes flashed, and an evil light was released from her eyes. It was like an illusion, and it penetrated deep into Yi Tianyun's eyes. Yi Tianyun's heart began to be charmed by the power of the illusion. Her eyes were like black vortexes, wanting to suck in a person's consciousness. It was impossible to attack here, but this illusion was not an attack, so it was not against the rules. Yi Tianyun walked towards Yu Qingling step by step, and Yu Qingling revealed a victorious smile. Murong Xiao immediately noticed the situation here. Just as he was about to shake Yi Tianyun awake, he had already walked in front of Yu Qingling and said coldly, "You want to charm me with this broken illusion? If it weren't for the fact that I'm here, I would have dug out your eyes right now." Scram! Yi Tianyun coldly snorted, and his aura, which was compressed to the extreme, burst out, forcing Yu Qingling to take a few steps back. Finally, she staggered and fell to the ground. You're actually not affected by my charm." Yu Qingling's eyes were filled with fear. She didn't expect that Yi Tianyun wouldn't be affected by her charm. Most men would be more or less affected by her charm. Even if they weren't controlled, they would at least be attracted to her. Her physique was rather special, and it was easy for her to attract the gazes of men. The crowd behind her was the same. It wasn't that they were being controlled, but that they were involuntarily attracted to this charming physique. This kind of natural physique was extremely attractive to men. However, it was of no use to Yi Tianyun at all. It didn't attract him at all, and instead, he was scolded miserably. "Your charm is simply disgusting. It's like a sow smiling at me. Do you think I'll be charmed by you?" Yi Tianyun mocked. "Poochie. You're really vicious." Murong Xiao burst out laughing. He pointed at Yu Qingling and laughed, "But you're right, you're a sow." Yu Qingling's expression turned ugly. She didn't expect to be called a sow in front of a group of people. It was simply a humiliation. "Everyone, attack him. Get rid of him." Yu Qingling screamed. Her ear-piercing voice was like that of a female cat whose tail had been stepped on. Many of the crowd were dissatisfied with Yi Tianyun, but Yi Tianyun was an existence that could unleash the power of a stage 9 expert. Would they be able to fight him? Especially since they couldn't make a move here, they could only watch helplessly. "If you can get rid of me, then come up." "I still think that the token isn't enough." Yi Tianyun looked at her indifferently and said, "I hope you don't become my opponent in the future. Otherwise, don't even think about keeping your mouth." With that, he walked out. Murong Xiao made a face at her and followed Yi Tianyun out. You guys hurry up and catch up to him," Yu Qingling said angrily. We haven't been tested yet. If we leave this place, we won't be able to take the test." "You bunch of trash." Yu Qingling's beautiful eyes were blazing. She stared at Yi Tianyun's back and said, "Next time will be the day you die. What's the use of brute force? Next time, I'll let young Master Ling kill you." She knew that Yi Tianyun had some ability, but she still believed that young Master Ling could suppress him. After all, he didn't use his full strength. Yi Tianyun clearly used his full strength. Otherwise, how could he unleash such shocking power? Unbeknownst to her, Yi Tianyun also didn't use his full strength. He didn't even use half of his strength. After Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao left, Murong Xiao gave him a thumbs up and said, "Big brother Tianyun, you're really too amazing. How about I call you Big brother Tianyun from now on?" "Up to you." Yi Tianyun shrugged. Although Murong Xiao was a little spoiled, she was much better than Yu Qingling. At least Murong Xiao knew how to distinguish right from wrong. Chapter 998. In the center of the Divine War continent, many warriors from the God's realm sat in the audience seats, watching the changes in the sky. The numbers in front were changing rapidly. In particular, Tianqing, who was ranked first, had more than 4,000 tokens, almost 5,000 tokens. He had more than 1,000 tokens compared to the second place. The difference was shocking. When the 9 region masters saw their representative, Earth Lord Sen Shui, getting a good result, they laughed heartily. Not bad. Sen Shui must have gotten a good result at the Divine Thunder Drum. She immediately rushed to the top 100. The 9 region masters were very happy. They looked at Yi Tianyun's ranking and shook their heads. He is still at the bottom. It seems that he has not even reached the Divine Thunder Drum. Maybe he got injured on the way and can't reach the top. Initially, Yi Tianyun's ranking was still relatively high, but with the start of the Divine War Thunderdrum, Yi Tianyun quickly began to fall back to the bottom. After all, if the Divine Thunder Drum reached the 3rd or 4th grade, he would get hundreds of tokens. It was easy for him to increase his ranking. Thank you for your concern. I was just delayed on the way. The Heavenly Mandate Region Master looked indifferent. They looked fine, but they were worried. They should be able to reach the Divine Thunder Drum soon. Who knew that he would be at the bottom in the blink of an eye? They didn't know what had happened. Hey, your people's names are all gone. Is he dead? Or is he out? The 9 region masters suddenly saw that Yi Tianyun's name was gone. The others looked for Yi Tianyun's name, but they couldn't find Yi Tianyun's name. Is he really gone? Yu Yanglong and the others looked around and couldn't find him. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord's eyes swept across the list as well. Like the eyes of an eagle, he scanned through every name below, and they were indeed gone. Did he really fail? The Heavenly Mandate Region Master was a bit disappointed. His hope was gone. When everyone thought that Yi Tianyun had failed, the other gods' realms thought that the Heavenly Mandate Region was doomed. Suddenly, Nyan Tsiyu pointed at the ranking and stuttered, Look at the first place. What's so good about the first place? It's just Lord Tian Qing. Lord Tian Yun. Nyan Tsiyu's shout made the surrounding people look to the side out of boredom. When they saw that the first place was no longer Heavenly Monarch, but Heavenly Cloud Monarch, they were all dumbfounded. Not only was he ranked first, but he was also able to show disdain for the others with over 8,000 tokens, crushing the existence in second place. More than 8,000 tokens. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord and the others couldn't help but stand up. Not only them, but the other region lords also stood up. A large number of warriors were shocked by this scene. If it wasn't for the 2 words Tianyun behind Tianyun's name, one would definitely think that it was someone with the same name. Now, it seemed that it was not just someone with the same name, but a real Earth Lord of the Heavenly Mandate Divine Realm. With more than 8,000 tokens, he was definitely a super dark horse, an existence that could crush everyone else. First place, it's really first place. Nyan Tsiyu was about to scream. She didn't look like the Lord of Heaven at all. She was no different from a crazy woman. If Yi Tianyun was next to her, he would definitely hug her. Such a terrible result would definitely make them proud. No, it's impossible. How can he be first? This is unless the Thunder Drum of God of War reached the level of the 9th grade. Could it be that he reached the level of the 9th grade? The Region Lord of the 9 regions slumped in his seat, looking at the ranking above in shock. The Fiery Jade Region Lord was also shocked. Of course, the most shocked were the God regions with Heavenly Monarch and Heavenly Monarch. When they saw their best disciple being pushed down, they couldn't help but curse. They had always been the ones who had the upper hand, so why were there suddenly some weak God realm powerhouses killing their way up? Is this the truth? The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord's hands were trembling. He was so excited. He had been suppressed all this time. How could they not be shocked that Yi Tianyun could have such a result? It's the truth, it's true. Nyan Tsiyu was ecstatic. I hope this result can be maintained. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord clenched his fists and looked at the ranking above with burning eyes. He was extremely excited. It will be. Nyan Tsiyu saw that not only Yi Tianyun, but Murong Xiao's ranking also shot up. He successfully rushed into the top 100, easily surpassing Earth Lord Snow and the others. At the same time, Yi Tianyun rushed to the next location with Murong Xiao. Yuan Tianyu and the others followed behind. They were all deeply shocked by Yi Tianyun's situation, especially when Yi Tianyun had 8,000 tokens, which filled their eyes with greed. If they could get 1,000 tokens, they would definitely be able to enter the top 100, which meant great glory. What a big failure. If only I could rope him in. Sikong Ma was full of regret. If he had put down his pride and knelt down, or let Yi Tianyun be the leader, he might have had a chance to get a share. Now, he couldn't even act together with them, let alone get a share. Yuan Tianyu's face was even uglier, and he was full of jealousy. Brother Yi, I wonder if you could share some of the tokens? We have many disciples here who don't have any tokens. If Brother Yi could share some, our ranking in the Heavenly Mandate region would be a little higher. Sima Kong braced himself and said sincerely, after all, we are all from the same clan, and the benefits of the group are more important. The benefits of the group are more important? What does that have to do with us? Murong Xiao looked at them and sneered, in my opinion, it is you who want the tokens so that you can squeeze your way up, right? Not everyone. Murong Xiao's heart was like a mirror, and she knew everything clearly. Sikong Ma looked embarrassed. Murong Xiao's mouth was really vicious, and she even dared to say it out loud. It seems that you don't know what the test means, which is to rely on yourself. So what if the tokens I give you are high enough? Do you think you can win the next level after passing this one? Yi Tianyun shook his head and said, instead of thinking so much, it is better to spend more time on cultivation. After that, he left with Murong Xiao, leaving a group of people looking at each other. Sikong Ma clenched his fists and looked at Yi Tianyun's back with hatred. He gritted his teeth and said, no team spirit at all. Let's go. They will never be able to make it to the end, but we can. He continued to bewitch the rest of the clan. This was the only way for him, or he wouldn't be able to make it to the front. He had to make use of what he could, and that was his way. Chapter 999. Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao continued to follow the token's instructions and moved towards their destination. They could ignore the token's instructions and move in another direction. However, the final result was that they had to pass through this place to reach their destination. The thunder drum of divinity was an exception. If they felt that they were strong and had enough tokens, they could choose to go around the side. However, this meant that the distance between them and the contestants would increase. Especially if the contestants were at the 6th or 7th level, the distance would be very shocking. As they moved forward, they soon arrived at their destination. Is this the next screening point? What came into view were two towering mountains. The further they went, the higher they went. There was a tall slope leading to the top, but it was unknown which region it led to. Along the way, there were many contestants who were trying their best to climb up. Looking from below, they found that the contestants were climbing very hard. It was as if they were tied to a mountain and every step was very strenuous. Accompanied by a blood-curdling scream, one of them was sent flying by an invisible force, flying out along the passageway. After flying out, he fell straight down from the sky and hit the ground with a dong sound. He almost fainted. Swish. At this moment, a cultivator who was hiding at the side suddenly rushed up and stabbed the fallen cultivator with his sword. He didn't hold back at all. You. The contestant who was thrown out had a look of unwillingness in his eyes. Before he could finish his words, a surging force bombarded him and blasted him into pieces. He couldn't be more dead. Following that, a pile of tokens was easily obtained. The contestant's eyes turned cold. He looked around and was ready to guard against a sneak attack from the side. Yi Tianyun also found many contestants hiding in the surrounding forest. They were watching from there. As this contestant wasn't weak and wasn't injured, no one dared to stop him. Instead, they turned their attention back to the contestants who were climbing up. If a contestant was thrown out again, he would undoubtedly be their target. They were waiting here, waiting for someone to be thrown out. Then, they would quickly take their lives and snatch their tokens. The participants in this region would definitely have a lot of tokens on them. Especially after passing the Divine Battle Thunderdrum, there would definitely be a lot of tokens on them. They had fewer tokens on them, so hunting here was undoubtedly a very good choice. But in this way, this place had become a dangerous area. If they were to be sent flying down and there was no one below to receive them, they would definitely be ambushed. As soon as Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao appeared, they were immediately targeted. If it wasn't for the fact that they seemed to be safe, they would have already pounced on them. They specifically chose those that they were confident in assassinating. If they weren't confident in assassinating, they definitely wouldn't take action. They're just a bunch of people waiting for a hare to come to them. They only know how to take advantage of others' difficulties. Murong Xiao was extremely disdainful of them. There is no such thing as being despicable in battle. The one who survives is the king. Yi Tianyun was indeed displeased with this sort of thing. Taking advantage of the fact that his opponent was down to launch a sneak attack, this was truly despicable. However, they didn't break the rules. If they died here, it could only be said that they weren't capable, not that they were too weak. Immediately, Yi Tianyun lifted his feet and walked forward, signaling Murong Xiao to follow him. When the two of them were about to go up, the eyes of the participants who were hiding on the side flickered. They felt that two fat sheep were about to enter their mouths. This adulterous couple is very likely to be cultivation companions. I'm sure that one of them will definitely be blown down. When the man flies down, I'll take care of him. What do you think? No problem. If it's a woman, I'll take care of her. They had already discussed how to deal with Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao. When they looked up again, they suddenly found that Yi Tianyun had disappeared. All they saw was Murong Xiao standing at the entrance. If you want to take care of me, you can do it now. A ghostly voice came from behind them, scaring them into rolling backward. When they quickly pulled out their weapons and wanted to attack, a shadow swung over and kicked them heavily. Dong. The two of them were kicked away, forming a parabola in the air. Then, they landed heavily on the ground. Their bodies were kicked so badly that they didn't look like humans anymore. When they fell to the ground, they twitched a little and could no longer move. Under Yi Tianyun's kick, the two of them naturally wouldn't be able to survive. Originally, Yi Tianyun couldn't be bothered with them. He just happened to hear them talking about him. Since that was the case, he didn't mind taking care of them in advance. When did you get there? Murong Xiao looked at him in shock. He didn't know what was going on. Yi Tianyun suddenly disappeared. I flew over. Yi Tianyun took out the tokens from their bodies. Then, the corpses disappeared in front of him. Murong Xiao rolled his eyes at him. He was too lazy to say anything. Anyway, Yi Tianyun wouldn't say anything. When the participants who were hiding at the side saw this, they couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. They knew the strength of the two brothers. If they were taken care of without anyone knowing, it meant that Yi Tianyun's strength was very shocking. This scene caused them to shrink their necks. They didn't dare to go forward and obediently shut their mouths. Yi Tianyun couldn't be bothered with them. He lifted his foot and stepped forward. The moment he stepped in, he immediately felt a gust of wind coming from the front. It wanted to blow him away, as expected of the divine wind valley. Does it belong to this round of assessment? Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes and looked at the participants who were climbing up with difficulty. From the outside, they couldn't feel the slightest bit of wind. They couldn't even hear the sound of wind. When they stepped into this place, it was as if they had stepped into another world. The strong wind whistled in their ears, constantly beating against their eardrums. Just as he entered, the hurricane that rushed toward them was like an invisible hand, slapping them. Pa 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 sounds rang out, wanting to slap them away. No wonder some people were sent flying. Under this terrifying wind, how could they not be sent flying? Those who had been sent flying were unable to recover from the shock for a while. The only way, the divine wind valley was the only way. If they passed, they wouldn't get any tokens as a reward. But if they didn't pass, even if they had 100,000 tokens, they would still fail. This round of assessment had a time limit. Although it wasn't short, there was still a time limit. If they exceeded the time limit and didn't reach the end, they would be considered to have failed. This wind is really cool. I like this wind. Murong Xiao smiled. He turned his head to look at Yi Tianyun and said, "Here, you definitely can't compare to me. Among all the attributes, wind is the one I'm least afraid of." Chapter 1000. Murong Xiao was so confident because she had her own capital, and that was the divine wood body. When she stepped on it, there was a surge of power under her feet, like the roots of a tree rooted to the ground. How could she not be stable? Murong Xiao did not say much to Yi Tianyun. She began to climb up step by step, and her speed was relatively fast. Every step was so steady, and the astonishing wind speed did not affect her at all. She was still so calm. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and come up. Murong Xiao's beautiful eyes were filled with fighting spirit. Her personality of wanting to see who would win and who would lose emerged once again. Yi Tianyun smiled slightly and raised his foot to catch up. Because this was a slope, It was more or less difficult to climb up. However, every step he took was also incomparably steady, like a towering mountain, towering and unmoving. He moved forward step by step, and at the same time, the wind speed became stronger and stronger. Every time it hit him, there was absolutely no blind spot. Not only did it feel like he was being hit by palm after palm, but it also felt like a wall was constantly hitting him, trying to send him flying. The higher he went, the more difficult it was. Roughly estimating the total length, it was less than 10,000 meters. This was not considered far, but as the wind speed increased, it would be troublesome if he climbed to the back and was blown away again, and he had to start all over again. Starting all over again was the best outcome. If he was ambushed, he would be dead for sure. As for flying, if he flew here, he would undoubtedly die faster. The terrifying wind speed would definitely increase by several times, and the death would be even more unsightly. Another scream came from the front, and a figure was blown out of the divine wind valley. Even if he constantly wanted to stabilize his body, fly up, and adjust the angle of his fall, it was clearly too difficult. The other party felt like a mountain was pressing down on him, and he fell straight from the sky. At the same time, the contestants who were hiding at the side flashed with killing intent, ready to attack at any time. Fortunately, the contestant quickly stabilized his body and did not smash to the ground. After spinning in midair, he steadily landed on the ground. At the same time, he took out a long sword and coldly looked around to avoid being ambushed. The killing intent in those ambushers' eyes didn't diminish, but they didn't charge forward. Under such circumstances, they did not dare to rush up. How could the contestants who could climb to the top be weak? Therefore, they could only give up on the sneak attack and continue to hide there, waiting for the next one. When the contestant saw that no one was sneaking up on him, he took a short break to catch his breath. After a while, he continued to climb. Originally, the Divine Wind Valley was already dangerous enough. Now, they also had to be on guard against those sneak attackers, which increased the level of danger by another level. When Yi Tianyun saw this, he shook his head and continued to climb. Through his observations, he discovered that this place was divided into 9 levels, with every kilometer being divided into a level. The 2 contestants who were blown away before were blown away at the 7th level, which was the 7,000-meter level. It could be seen that from here onwards, the difficulty would increase greatly. If one was even the slightest bit unstable, they would be blown away. As for the previous levels, Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao didn't have any problems at all. Instead, Murong Xiao walked a bit faster. Her lower body was very stable, with every step she took deeply into the ground. It was really difficult for her to be blown away. Even if her body looked so delicate, she was like a giant tree, firmly rooted in the ground. There was no pressure at all. "Hurry up, why are you walking so slowly?" Murong Xiao waved at him, indicating that he should quickly catch up. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, "I'm following." They quickly climbed to the 7,000-meter level and prepared to reach the level where they were often blown away. Although there were many contestants beside them, they wouldn't make a move. It was already dangerous enough here. If they made a move, they might be blown away. Therefore, many contestants began to sit cross-legged and rest at the 6,000-meter level, preparing to rush up in one go. The 7,000-meter level was a huge hurdle, or rather, it was getting more and more difficult. If they reached it, they would have to go up in one go, and they couldn't rest here. Their appearance caused the contestants beside them to open their eyes and look in their direction. Especially when they saw that they had no intention of stopping and continued to climb up, they were gloating, as if they could foresee that they were both going to be blown away. They're climbing up without resting. They're definitely going to die. Hihi, all the newcomers are like that, thinking that they can definitely go up in one go. They all shook their heads. Too many people were like that, thinking that they were the strongest and could climb up in one go. As a result, when they really went up, just stabilizing their lower body was extremely taxing. Even pills could not replenish it. In the end, they would be blown away. They would either die or have to start all over again. At the same time, Sima Kong and the others quickly arrived. When they saw Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao climbing up, they all had strange expressions. The Divine Wind Valley is an extremely difficult place. If you want to go up, you'll have to take it one step at a time. Especially after the 7,000-meter level, the difficulty will increase significantly. It seems like the two of them are not going to rest. Sima Kong was indeed experienced. He knew about these places. He looked around and said to Yuan Tianyu, I think the two of them will most likely be blown away. When that happens, there will be people ambushing them. That's the best time for you to show off. Saving the damsel in distress is a great idea. Sima Kong patted Yuan Tianyu's shoulder, signaling him to make good use of the opportunity. Yuan Tianyu looked to the side and his eyes flickered. This was indeed a great opportunity. Saving the damsel in distress was always effective, regardless of the situation. If he were to save Murong Xiao, it would undoubtedly deepen their relationship. Great. Yuan Tianyu's eyes were filled with gratitude. It would be great if he could change Murong Xiao's opinion of him. Following Murong Xiao, they soon reached the 7,000-meter range, followed by Yi Tianyun. As soon as they stepped into the 7,000-meter range, the wind speed increased by a few times. Whoosh! A strong gust of wind blew toward them. If it was like a palm before, it was now like 4 or 5 palms were slapping at them from all directions. The wind speed has increased a lot. Yi Tianyun was still as stable as Mount Tai. He was completely fine. Even Murong Xiao was able to stay on top of it. The wind speed has increased a lot. Don't get blown away, Murong Xiao turned around and reminded him. It was obvious that he was worried about Yi Tianyun. Chapter 1001. Humph. I'll be blown away. That's impossible. Murong Xiao humphed and said, I've said it before. I don't dare to say anything about other elements, but this wind element is useless to me. After saying that, he continued to climb forward, wanting to prove to Yi Tianyun that he can climb to the finish line in one breath. Yi Tianyun smiled. This little girl is really competitive, she's just like a man, competitive. Then, they continued to climb up step by step, as steady as a rock. The contestants below were stunned. They all thought that Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao would be blown away soon, or it would be very difficult for them to move forward. They didn't expect them to be able to move forward steadily. It was beyond their expectations. It seems like the 7th stage isn't too difficult for them. Sima Kong squinted his eyes. The 7th stage was not easy, but it did not mean it was difficult. Otherwise, no one would be able to pass it. They could still make it if they put in a little more effort. The problem was how much time they had to spend. At least they had to slowly get used to it. Senior brother Sima, are they going to make it so easily? Yuan Tianyu was not satisfied. Don't worry, the hardest part is yet to come. You still have a chance. Sima Kong said in a deep voice, their strength is not bad, but Lady Mu's strength is still a little weaker. I can see that her lower body is a little unstable. He was experienced and could tell that Murong Xiao was starting to lose her balance. Yuan Tianyu's eyes lit up and he quickly said, I hope everyone can protect me. If it turns out well, I'll reward you handsomely when we get out. Sima Kong could tell, so could Yi Tianyun. Murong Xiao was starting to lose her balance. Murong Xiao kept saying that it was fine, but that did not mean it was fine. It was fine before, but it was starting to become problematic now. The main problem was the poison. The poison in her body had not been cleansed, and she had not fully recovered from her injuries. He initially wanted to let her rest, but she insisted on not resting and continued to move forward. Yi Tianyun could not move away from her, so he could only follow her. Sure enough, when she reached about 8,000 meters, her speed began to slow down, and sweat began to seep from her forehead. However, he was quickly blown away by the wind. His feet became more and more unstable. When he couldn't unleash his full strength, it was indeed more difficult to resist. He could feel the speed of the wind here. It was already shockingly fast, with at least a force of hundreds of billions of kilograms. If they were not careful, they would be blown away immediately. His, heaven-shaking divine art, could only barely stabilize himself. The rest had to be stabilized by his own strength. Otherwise, he would be blown away. Finally, when she crossed more than 8,000 meters, a gust of wind pressed down on her. She cried out in alarm, and her body lost its balance and was lifted from the ground. Ah! She let out a soft cry. It was too late for her to continue stabilizing her body. There was no way for her to press her body down again. Like a kite with a broken string, she floated outwards. Yuan Tianyou's eyes flashed, and he was ready to catch Murong Xiao. The other contestants hiding at the side all shook their heads. If there was someone protecting them, then they could only give up on sneak attacks. On the other hand, the contestants in the Divine Wind Valley all laughed in Schadenfreude. This was a matter of course. Every one of them had failed before, otherwise they wouldn't have stayed here all this time. Just at this time, a long whip suddenly rolled over and firmly grabbed Murong Xiao. For a moment, Murong Xiao was stabilized in the air. She really looked like a kite floating in the air. Idiot, this is undoubtedly courting death. If you dare to help others, the wind speed will be even more astonishing. That's right, a hero saving a beauty. But if you want to be a hero, you have to see if you have the capital. Both of them are about to be blown away. However, it seems like they have someone below to receive them. This doesn't matter. One by one, they all laughed. They felt that Yi Tianyun was really stupid. Seeing this situation, Sikong Ma shook his head and said, truly reckless. Do you really think you are invincible? If you help others, the power will increase by 3 or 4 times. Yi Tianyun was in the 8th stage. This meant that with Murong Xiao, he would immediately reach the 9th stage, or even higher. Get down. Yi Tianyun suddenly pulled, and the dragon god bloodline in his body exploded. His feet were like nails, firmly fixing him on the ground. No matter how the wind blew, he was not blown away. Following that, a large part of Murong Xiao was suddenly pulled down by him, but she was not blown away. Following that, he dragged her down bit by bit. Finally, she was firmly fixed in front of him. He said in a deep voice, stand properly, stabilize the aura in your body. I will stabilize you here. Murong Xiao was shocked. Previously, she was extremely proud of her own ability. Now, it seemed that compared to Yi Tianyun, it was nothing. Yi Tianyun was truly stable. The moment she was blown away, she felt that she could not control herself no matter what. Even flying was useless. She could only let the wind blow her away, but she was forcefully pulled down by Yi Tianyun. This strength was extremely shocking. No matter how violent the wind was, he could pull her down without any resistance and stabilize her on the ground. How is this possible? The people below were all shocked. Some of them stood up from their meditation and looked over in shock. They all thought that Yi Tianyun would definitely be blown away, but he actually stabilized her. Sima Kong and the others were all dumbfounded. This was beyond their common sense. Not only was he not blown away, he was forcefully pulled down. Unbelievable. After Yi Tianyun stabilized Murong Xiao quickly meditated and stabilized herself on the ground to recover. She did not say anything. She knew that this was a difficult place to begin with. If she did, it would be a waste of Yi Tianyun's good intentions. When Murong Xiao stabilized herself, Yi Tianyun only let go of the rope. Only then did the pressure on his body decrease by more than half. He was almost blown away. Luckily, he stabilized himself. This wind is too strong. I almost couldn't take it. Yi Tianyun heaved a sigh of relief. He also meditated and waited for Murong Xiao to recover. Although he knew that Murong Xiao would be fine, with so many people watching, he did not want to let Murong Xiao climb up again. Originally, she was strong enough. It was just that she was too stubborn and forced herself to climb up before she recovered. Wasn't that courting death? The result was obvious. She had not recovered, so she could not stabilize herself. Chapter 1002. In fact, Yi Tianyun didn't need to rest. He just needed to wait for Murong Xiao to recover. After resting for a while, Murong Xiao's pale face recovered quickly. This was the consequence of trying to be brave. If it weren't for him, he would have been blown away. One shouldn't try to be brave. She liked to be brave and didn't want others to see her weakness. After recovering, Murong Xiao opened her eyes slowly. Her beautiful eyes were filled with complex and gratitude. Brother Tianyun, thank you, you've already called me Brother Tianyun. How can I not protect you? Yi Tianyun looked at her and said helplessly, don't try to be brave. Just take it slow. There's still enough time. After all, even if they reached the finish line immediately, it wouldn't end immediately. They still had to wait for a while at the finish line. As for whether there would be any rewards for reaching the finish line before, he wasn't sure. He felt that it was good enough to advance at this speed. It was safest to advance steadily. Okay, I know. Murong Xiao nodded obediently this time. She didn't refute him, which surprised Yi Tianyun. However, when he saw that Murong Xiao's favorability toward him suddenly soared to more than 300 or 400, he knew the problem. After helping her several times, her favorability toward him skyrocketed to 300 or 400, which was quite shocking. So, there's no problem now, right? Yi Tianyun smiled. Yes, there's no problem this time. Murong Xiao stood up confidently and began to climb up step by step. This time, she was very stable. She could have passed in one go, but she tried to be brave. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been such an accident. Then, the two of them continued to climb up, step by step, steadily. Yuan Tianyu, who was waiting below, was dumbfounded. It seemed that he didn't need to be a hero to save the damsel in distress. Yi Tianyun didn't give him the chance at all. Damn it, he took it away again. Yuan Tianyu stomped on the ground angrily. He was quite annoyed and unhappy. He had been prepared from the very beginning, but it was completely useless now. Instead, he was like a fool, standing there foolishly for so long. His strength is immeasurable. Sima Kong shook his head. He had already listed Yi Tianyun as a dangerous person, and he could not afford to go against him. Immediately, they began to climb up. Continuing to stay here was also not a solution. Since Murong Xiao's condition had improved, his climbing speed was quite stable. In the end, he easily reached the top. To her, this wasn't difficult at all. In fact, it wasn't difficult at all. If not for the fact that he was trying to be brave, he would have rushed up in a single breath. Yi Tianyun passed through the Divine Wind Valley as if he was taking a stroll. It might be difficult for others, but it wasn't difficult for him. As long as he could stabilize his lower body, it wouldn't be difficult at all. What was being tested here was the stability of one's lower body, which had a great influence on the battle. If he fell to the ground easily when attacked, it would undoubtedly be fatal. It wasn't just flying. When attacked in the air, there would also be problems. The moment he lost his balance would be the moment of death. I finally made it. If I didn't use up too much astral power, I wouldn't have made a fool of myself. Murong Xiao turned to look at Yi Tianyun with a dissatisfied expression. She was very dissatisfied with herself. I was very confident about it, but I failed. Isn't this a slap in the face? Just be more careful in the future. Yi Tianyun looked up, and what he saw was a huge arena, forming a circular arc, wrapping a large circle. There was a tunnel in front of them that led to the entrance, and there were many guards standing at the side, looking at them fiercely. Right in front of them was the end of the first round, the deity's battleground. After so many battles, they finally reached the end of the first round. So this is the end after climbing the Divine Wind Valley. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, let's go in. Murong Xiao nodded, her beautiful eyes filled with excitement. She couldn't help but feel excited when she thought about meeting the real geniuses. After all, they would only meet the powerful geniuses who passed the first round of selection. Those who passed the first round could only be ordinary geniuses. As they walked into the magnificent deity's battleground, they passed through a long corridor and finally stepped into a vast arena. When they looked up, they saw groups of experts sitting in their seats and discussing. It could be said that they were densely packed with heaven monarchs, and there were countless earth monarchs. These were the elders from the various god realms who came to watch the competition. In the next round, so many big shots would be watching here. However, the real big shots didn't come. Yi Tianyun saw many empty seats in front of them. These were the seats for the second-grade god realms. As for who they would send, they didn't know. Maybe they would send elders, or maybe territorial lords. However, it was really nerve-wracking to be watched by so many powerful figures. It's Tianyun and the others. They passed. When Nyan Tsiyu saw the figures at the entrance, she immediately became excited. This meant that their people had passed the first round. Especially the token that Yi Tianyun obtained. He looked down on all the heroes and firmly secured first place. Yes, they all passed. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord was very excited and relaxed a little. They were afraid that there would be an accident along the way. If they lost, then everything would be over. What 8,000 tokens? It would only be a waste of time, without any meaning at all. Yi Tianyun and the others also noticed Nyan Tsiyu and the others. They also saw their names on the virtual image in the air. Big brother Tianyun, you are first. Even the second place Heaven Pillar and Earthly Lord are not as good as you. You are really amazing. Murong Xiao was very excited as if she was the first place. First place. Yi Tianyun smiled slightly. There was no pride in his eyes. Only when they really competed would they know who was better. He wanted to prove to all the powerful figures that the human race was not the weakest race, but a race full of potential. Rong'er also passed. A middle-aged man on the side was very satisfied when he saw Murong Xiao. He was Murong Xiao's father, Murong Hua. We said that the eldest lady would definitely get a good result. She did not disappoint us. The elders on the side all praised and felt that Murong Xiao had amazing potential. Chapter 1003. Yi Tianyun and Murong Xiao's appearance attracted a lot of people's attention, especially the contestants who arrived here before. They all looked at them. Junior Marshal Sister Rong'er, who is he? At this time, a handsome youth appeared in front of them. He was dressed in white and had a long sword on his back. He looked very immortal. He was Murong Xiao's pursuer, Ling Yunfeng. People usually called him Young Master Ling, and Yu Qingling had a good impression of him. However, Ling Yunfeng only liked Murong Xiao, and she had no chance at all. Don't call me Rong'er, we aren't that close. Murong Xiao frowned. She felt very uncomfortable with Ling Yunfeng calling her that. Junior Marshal Sister Rong'er, you are messing around again. We are from the same sect. Ling Yunfeng was full of helplessness. He looked at her and said with dissatisfaction, I have been looking for you for so long down there, but I couldn't find you. So you were with someone else. No wonder I couldn't find you. Friend, how should I address you? Ling Yunfeng didn't start scolding right away. Instead, he cupped his hands and was very polite. Yi Tianyun sized him up. He looked like a handsome man, and his cultivation wasn't low either. They were both 7th refinement Earth monarchs. In this place, 5th or 6th refinement Earth monarchs and above were too common. If one didn't have 6th or 7th refinement Earth monarchs, they would be embarrassed to greet him. Heavenly Cloud Earth Monarch. Yi Tianyun didn't hide and introduced himself. Heavenly Cloud Earth Monarch. Ling Yunfeng's eyes shot out a ray of light. He sized him up and said in shock, I was just about to say what Heavenly Cloud Earth Monarch is like. I didn't expect him to be so young. I believe that Junior Marshal Sister Rong'er was able to reach here mainly because of Heavenly Cloud Earth Monarch. That is her own ability, and it has nothing to do with me. Yi Tianyun was a little confused. Logically speaking, shouldn't the other party treat him as a love rival? Why wasn't he angry? His temper was still so good. No matter what, I am shocked to see her in person. To tell you the truth, Earth Lord Tianyun, I want to be her Dao companion, and I hope Earth Lord Tianyun can fulfill my wish. Ling Yunfeng was very straightforward and very respectful. Yi Tianyun almost vomited blood. This was the first time he had seen someone dissuade someone with such etiquette. It was not a fist fight, but a dissuasion filled with etiquette. Senior brother Ling, I will never become Dao companions with you. Murong Xiao was furious. She pointed at him and said, You're not my type. You're so inflexible, just like a stubborn old man. Your Ling family has nurtured you into a genius, but in other aspects, you are simply too lacking. How could that be? Didn't Junior Sister Rong'er say that as long as my talent and cultivation surpass yours, I can become your Dao companion? Ling Yunfeng frowned and said doubtfully, I should be able to do it. Furthermore, I'm preparing to break through to the 8th refinement Earth Monarch. I should be able to meet Junior Sister Rong'er standards, right? You are so unreasonable. I don't even like you. It's useless if you meet my requirements. Murong Xiao was about to explode. You don't like me? Then after we become Dao companions, you will slowly fall in love with me. I'll bring you to a good place to cultivate, give you all my treasures, and go into seclusion with you. Yi Tianyun was on the verge of cramping up. This guy's EQ was too low. It was as if his head had been kicked by a donkey. What was even more frightening was that when he said it out calmly, he did not even know what it meant to refuse, what it meant to be humiliated, just give up. I'm already with Big Brother Tianyun. You should just give up. Murong Xiao grabbed Yi Tianyun's arm and transmitted his voice to him. Brother Tianyun, you must help me. If I become Dao companions with this guy, I will definitely go crazy. It's not interesting at all, just like those teachers. Ling Yunfeng was startled. He looked at Yi Tianyun and bowed. I hope Earth Lord Tianyun can fulfill my wish. My father said that Junior Marshal Sister Rong and I are the most suitable. If Earth Lord Tianyun chooses to give up, I am willing to give you the best treasures. I hope Earth Lord Tianyun will give up. What a gentleman. Yi Tianyun looked at him and did not know what to say. Everything was too polite. He did not get angry, nor did he use vulgar words. He was completely like a gentleman, speaking of his needs. It felt like he would say please don't hit me after slapping him. What if I say no? Yi Tianyun thought for a while and chose to persuade him. If you don't agree, I can only work harder to defeat you with greater strength and win Junior Marshal Sister Rong-er's heart. If I steal Junior Marshal Sister Rong-er, I hope Earth Lord Tianyun won't blame me. Ling Yunfeng still did not get angry, nor did he provoke him. He just wanted to steal Junior Marshal Sister Rong-er in front of Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun did not know what to say. This was definitely the first time he met such a weirdo. If it was someone else, he would have pointed at his nose and scolded him, or if he did not leave Murong Xiao, he would die without a burial place. Ling Yunfeng did not act like this at all. He maintained his gentlemanly demeanor from the beginning to the end. It was just that in his opinion, the more violent ones were better. See? I wonder if this guy is stupid. His brain is made of rotten wood. He can't understand anything. I wonder if his family has instilled too many things into his head. He doesn't have any opinions. Murong Xiao said helplessly. No opinions. Yi Tianyun was confused. Yes, he definitely doesn't like me. He listens to his family. No matter what he does, he follows their orders. Murong Xiao was very helpless. Such a weirdo exists. Yi Tianyun was speechless. You are Earth Lord Tianyun? At this time, a man walked over and looked him up and down with cold eyes full of fighting spirit. What's the problem? Yi Tianyun looked at him. You don't look like much. You are a human. How could your divine war thunder drum reach the 9th rank? Earth Lord Cloud Thunder looked at him coldly. I highly suspect that you cheated. Otherwise, how could a mere human reach this level? Earth Lord Cloud Thunder was ranked 2nd. He was suddenly pushed down to 3rd place. In fact, 3rd place was already very good, but he could not believe that a human was riding on top of them. This was unacceptable. Yi Tianyun looked at him up and down, then shrugged his shoulders and said, This is finally a normal guy, look at him, this is a normal guy, okay? Ling Yunfeng looked at Earth Lord Cloud Thunder in confusion. He did not understand what Yi Tianyun meant. Chapter 1004. Hearing Yi Tianyun's question, Earth Lord Cloud Thunder was stunned. How did he cheat? It couldn't be 2 people attacking each other. It could only be 1 person attacking. If 2 people attacked each other, it would be against the rules, and they would be immediately identified. At that time, they would be considered to have failed. You must have cheated. Earth Lord Cloud Thunder was at a loss for words and didn't know how to refute. In his opinion, the human race must have cheated to be able to climb to such a high peak. Not only Earth Lord Cloud Thunder, but the other contestants also thought so. There were so many contestants present, but only Yi Tianyun was a human. It was enough to show how weak the human race was. It was impossible for them to reach this level. Oh, if I really cheated, are you doubting the rule formation set up by the God Realms? Do you think their rules are so weak that I can easily break them by cheating? Yi Tianyun looked at Earth Lord Cloud Thunder mockingly and said with a smile, It seems that I'm so strong that I can break their rules and easily reach the 9th rank. Is it because I'm too strong, or because the seniors are too useless? Yi Tianyun slammed a hat on Earth Lord Cloud Thunder's head. If Earth Lord Cloud Thunder admitted it, it would mean that the rules set up by several powerful figures of the god realms had been broken by a single human. So many people couldn't break it, but he could. Wouldn't that mean that the powerful figures of the god realms were useless? Earth Lord Cloud Thunder's face turned pale. He had never thought about this at all. He just kept accusing Yi Tianyun of cheating to achieve his results. Now that Yi Tianyun had turned the tables on him, he was so embarrassed that he didn't know what to say. The other contestants originally wanted to interject, but now they didn't know what to say. If they said that Yi Tianyun had cheated, then they would be saying that the seniors were too weak. But if they didn't say anything, wouldn't that mean that Yi Tianyun really had such strength? This kid is really eloquent. He can infer many things from one instance. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord smiled. He was very appreciative of Yi Tianyun's words. It was best not to get angry. That was the most important thing. There was no point in getting angry here. The key was that they could not fight, so there was nothing to get angry about. It would affect the mood of the competition. That's true. This brat is very clever. He won't be at a disadvantage. Nyan Ciu also laughed. They didn't continue to say anything. The stage was theirs, and the rest of the audience couldn't interfere. They couldn't even get off the stage. They could only watch from above. Even if their own disciples were prepared to die, they still couldn't go down. If they wanted to save him, there would be others who would save him. As for the others, they absolutely could not interfere. Once they did so, they would be disqualified from the entire god domain. Otherwise, if someone were to rush down to save his disciple when his disciple was about to die, it would be against the rules. This kind of situation absolutely could not happen, so whoever did that would be kicked out. Moreover, this competition was not inhumane. As long as the other party surrendered, they could not continue fighting. If he stubbornly refused to surrender, what else could he do? Earth Monarch Cloud Thunder snorted and said coldly, "I don't care what you do, but I hope you don't run into me." After saying that, Earth Monarch Cloud Thunder waved his hand and walked to the side. He didn't want to stay here any longer. He didn't want Yi Tianyun to say anything else. If he were to put a big hat on him, he would be in trouble. Earth Monarch Cloud Thunder, "I'm sorry, but he's already mine," Ling Yunfeng suddenly said. Earth Monarch Cloud Thunder turned his head and looked at him like he was an idiot. Then, he shook his head. "What a retard. I can't be bothered to talk to you." Yi Tianyun shrugged his shoulders, feeling very helpless. The rest of the contestants glanced over, but they didn't say anything. Among them, there was a substantial gaze that stared at him. Yi Tianyun followed the gaze. The first thing that came into view was an extremely beautiful woman. She was dressed in red, and there were several flames floating around her body. The scorching heat waves spread out in all directions. She sized up Yi Tianyun for a moment. Her eyes were very indifferent and somewhat empty, as if she didn't care about anything. Or in other words, everything was meaningless to her. Then, she closed her eyes again. She didn't say a word, nor did she do anything. The other contestants didn't approach her. They were even a little afraid of her. Heavenly Pillar? Yi Tianyun was stunned. The opponent's name appeared in front of him with the appraisal eye. He didn't expect the first one to be a woman. This was really beyond his expectation. He thought it would be an overbearing strong man, but it turned out to be a woman. That's right. She's Heavenly Pillar, the terrifying woman ranked below you. Murong Xiao shook his head. His eyes were full of fear. She controls a kind of holy fire that can burn the heaven and earth. Her cultivation has reached the level of the 8th refinement Earth Lord. Rumor has it that she almost broke through to the level of the 9th refinement Earth Lord. Holy fire. Yi Tianyun squinted at Heavenly Pillar. Such a masculine name, but she's a woman. Of course, this was just a title. No one knew her real name. In the deity realm, the rarity of flames was divided into 2 categories, demonic fire and holy fire. There were only 5 kinds of holy fire. Needless to say, the power of these flames was above all the other demonic fires. Having a holy fire was like adding wings to a tiger. However, it was extremely difficult to subdue a holy fire. No one knew how Heavenly Pillar did it. It's a bit strange. Yi Tianyun looked at Heavenly Pillar up and down. Even with the appraisal eye, the data presented was very limited. He had a special feeling that Heavenly Pillar was very terrifying. There seemed to be a special energy in her body. As for how powerful it was not easy to say. He felt that the other contestants were not even half as powerful as her, or even less. Her terrifying power was far beyond the reach of others. Of course, there were still many contestants who hadn't arrived yet. As for whether the others were strong or not, they would have to wait and see. Immediately, they found a place to meditate and recover, waiting for the start of the second round. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was almost the end. The time provided for the first round was not long, only 1 month. Those who couldn't reach the finish line in 1 month would be judged to be eliminated. 1 month is up. Those who haven't reached the finish line will have their previous results nullified. They will be eliminated at the same time. At this time, a deacon announced on the side. His voice spread out and eventually spread to the entire Godly War continent. Those who didn't reach the finish line were teleported out. When Yi Tianyun opened his eyes, he saw a lot of contestants, a lot more than when he first came up. Among them, Yu Qingling and the others had come up, proving that they had some strength.